Adams,
Here.
Representative Bailey, Baker,
Here.
Burrell,
Here.
Casper,
Here.
Casari,
Here.
Chase,
Here.
Pop, Crockett Hubbard,
Here.
Dean Chinbrot,
Here.
Fitzgerald,
Here.
Blacks,
Here.
Fortner,
Here.
Foster, Frickman,
Here.
Gothier David, Gothier Lauren, Gustafson, Hainline,
Here.
Hanscom,
Here.
Jacome,
Here.
else is there? Nope, okay. Jones,
Here.
Katowski,
Here.
Merritt, nope, okay. Perry, Powers, Kristen,
Here.
Powers, Sean,
Here.
Pacino,
Here.
Ray,
Here.
Richards,
Here.
Rusk, Jill,
Here.
Rusk, Jason,
Here.
Starkley,
Here.
Stevenson,
Here.
Thomas,
Here.
Washington, Representative Washington, Watson,
Here.
Wells, Representative Wells, Representative Wells. Okay. That's what we have is 28.
Bailey?
Oh, and Evan, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? Pardon me?
Bailey?
Daily,
Bailey?
okay, there's 29. That's 20, that's 30. Cop,
Did you get Wells?
not yet. Wells? Wells, are you there? I heard him, so I'm going to.
I'm here. Wells is here.
Okay, 31. Washington? Representative Washington? Nope. Okay. Come in later, maybe?
Hopefully.
Okay. Anyone else? Merritt? Perry? Gothiers? Any of the Gothiers? Okay, I'll just keep an eye out, Madam Moderator, but you have 31 at call.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We do have a quorum. So we'll start with a moment of silence. Representative Jacome, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The next
Whitney, I see Whitney also, 32.
All right, so we're at 32. The next item.
Washington is here also, I see.
Yep, she just popped on, okay. 33.
Next item is going to be the approval of minutes from our August 11th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Adams.
Is there a second?
Second, Chase.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes from our August 11th, 2021 meeting made by Representative Adams, seconded by Representative Chase. Is there any discussion on those? I had one point, which is on page 7. It said that I severed on on the long-term recovery, and it's just a typo. I serve on the long-term recovery committee, but other than that, it looked fine to me. Representative Bailey?
Yes, thank you very much. I have an amendment also. It's concerning section F as in Foxtrot. There was right at the bottom, I know it was a big sum of money for the ARPA 1% funding to Ledge Light, but the amount was not stated, nor was the motion, the person who made the motion, which was Representative Fortner. And it would be reading as 1% of the town of Groton's.
Can everyone please mute? If you're not talking, please mute. All right, continue, Representative Bailey. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yes, the amendment is to section F in the town manager's report, where it was approved all the way at the end for the Ledge Light ARPA funding. And Representative Cindy Fortner made the motion, and that would be of 1% of the town of Groton's ARPA funding, $85,878.94. And that could be found in the recorded version of that meeting of August the 11th at 41 minutes into the meeting.
Thank you, Representative.
Do you know who seconded
You're
it?
welcome.
Could you tell Representative Bailey who seconded it?
I'll review it, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. That's a great
I'm-
catch.
That's odd because I remember that being in there. Maybe it bounced out. I don't know. Okay, well, maybe it got reverted someplace else, but I'll take a peek.
Any other discussion on the minutes? All right, seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve our August 11th meeting minutes made by Representative Adams and seconded by Representative Chase, and then amended by myself and Representative Bailey. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. The next item is our citizens petitions. And this is the portion of the RTM agenda where the RTM welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 10 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be limited to matters pertinent to Groton. The moderator, myself, or members through me shall ask questions only in order to clarify the speaker's presentation. Responses may be given by myself or the town manager. And I don't know if our town manager is, oh yes, he is. And citizens should state their name and address for the record. And I believe we have two speakers, Ms. Baxter, Sophie Baxter. Is she able to speak at this point?
Yes.
Hi, please state your name and address, and then you may have the floor.
Sophina Baxter, 283 Bridge Street, Groton. I'm not sure if the camera's working, if you guys can see me or hear me or how that.
We can hear you, but we cannot see you. But you can continue. Now we can't hear you. Ms. Baxter?
She's not muted. She can speak. We don't have to see you,
we
Mrs.
don't-
Baxter. You could just go ahead and speak.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. So I'm a mom of a freshman at Fitch. How I got involved in this was, I had concerns about transportation and the plan to combine the schools as far as buses since before school started. However, since it's become a nightmare, I've gotten more involved. I attempted at first to contact the board members, superintendent, principals, and was ignored. I then decided to contact town manager's office, who told me they could not get involved. And then I went further up. The concerns being, one, combining the children. When we're in the middle of a pandemic, and you're combining children who some can't be vaccinated, some hopefully are, as well as overcrowding on the buses, as well as them being on the buses 3 to 4 hours a day. Everything that was promised when going forward with this plan has not came true. And the kids are paying the price, the parents are paying the price, having to stay in the back of the school forever when trying to pick up and drop off your kid. But I'm much more concerned with the safety aspect of the buses. Kids piling up on top of each other, sitting in the aisles of the bus. Everything that's known to the board. I reached out to the State Board of Ed. I reached out to assembly members who I'm friendly with, and I know that they attempted to reach out to the board. The board did not respond to them at first. Finally, the board did respond and claimed that buses and the issue that's been plaguing the state when it comes to a shortage of bus drivers was not a factor in Groton, that Groton was not having an issue with bus drivers. However, recently I'd contacted a representative that I had spoken with, and I had asked her permission if I could name her as the person I had spoke with. And she informed me that she was contacted by Susan Austin, and that Susan Austin did explain that they are having a bus driver shortage. However, nothing's being done about it. I decided to watch all the meetings for the last 3 months, and everybody's talking about the problems and going forward in the hopes that things can be fixed, but the things are not just going to be fixed. I think Susan Austin, knowing that I was going to be speaking here this evening, she had met with me today, and I had met with the assistant superintendent as well. And while I believe wholeheartedly that they really want this to work out, I just don't think it is. And nothing's being done about it. I mean, for instance, in the meeting last night, they were speaking about the fact that bus drivers are so delayed because there's some roads that don't have signage on them. And they all shake their heads like that's some big importance, but nobody ever mentions maybe contacting the town to get signage on some roads. Just nothing is being done. I'm not sure what people can do about it here, but I'm hoping for some help or oversight.
Madam Moderator, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Baxter. You're done, I take it. So I will ask Mr. Burt if he might respond to the issue of the roads not being marked.
Sorry, say that again.
Ms. Baxter said some of the roads are not marked that the buses have to go on.
I would have to be given a list. I'm not aware of it. However, we do have Superintendent Austin on the line. So, but obviously, if anyone sends us a list, if the school wants to send us a list, we'll gladly look at that.
Ms. Baxter, would you be able to send a list of roads that aren't marked, perhaps?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know them. I'm not making that claim.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what this body can do. We can certainly try to get answers. It sounds like you've spoken to Ms. Austin today. And, you know, certainly if you had specific questions, if you have a specific list of roads, if there are ways we can facilitate this issue, we certainly will try. Just would need a little more information. Representative Richards, I don't see any other people with their hands raised, so thank you very much. And certainly, if you would like to submit that in writing, that would be great. Thank you. Mr. Purdy, is there a Mr. Purdy who wishes to speak?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I see 1 minute. Representative Thomas had his hand up. Representative Thomas, can I give the floor briefly to Representative Thomas?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. No.
my connection cut out there a little bit. I wasn't sure if we were doing responses to citizens petitions or not yet.
There's no response needed, only clarifying.
Oh, okay.
I was just trying to figure out if there was something we could do.
Okay, I'll speak later a little bit. I'll
Okay.
listen to Mr. Purdy.
I do see Ms. Austin, Superintendent Austin rather is here. I didn't know if you wish to respond or if you had any, again, since you beamed your.
So I have addressed this. We do have a bus driver shortage, which has been part of the problem. Groton Public Schools, as I talked to Sophina today, I've known her since her high school student was in elementary. And I explained that we are in direct contact weekly, daily with STA, who is the bus company that we contract with, and they employ the bus drivers. And like a lot of the larger cities in Connecticut and across the country, we have had the unfortunate experience to have a bus driver shortage. We're so appreciative of our bus drivers who come every day and are, taking our kids back and forth and sometimes actually doing extra runs so that all of our kids can get to school. And that is happening today. We had a really good conversation. We talked about their navigating systems and their tape recording systems so that they're more up to date and partnering with the bus company so that they have access to the best technology possible. So if a street is unmarked, and we're definitely going to follow up. I also meet with Mr. Burt on a regular basis to see, what streets aren't marked. But beyond that, to have a navigation system for a bus company to be able to use, to be able to input their routes so that even if you have a substitute bus driver, they'll be able to navigate with no problem. We actually we were down 5 bus drivers in the beginning of the school year, which I found out really the first day of school. And then on a daily basis, from 1 to 5 bus drivers are either absent or, are not coming. So, like I do in education, we have substitute teachers when teachers are ill, but the bus company doesn't even have substitutes this year because of the real challenge that they have with hiring and recruiting new bus drivers. So I guess if the public is listening, we are in need of really good bus drivers, and they've done some negotiating so that it's become really more lucrative. And but the training does take some time. It takes about 6 weeks. So they have people in training and they're coming on board. And I have to say, the last few days have been much better than what we've experienced in the past. So I'm very hopeful that it's just going to continue to improve. And as I explained to Ms. Baxter, that our total goal was all along when we routed this 2-tier system was to have 66% capacity, which was 2 to a seat for the older kids, and less than an hour. Most of our routes are routed for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And the problem is that when a bus driver isn't there, other bus drivers have to take care of those routes to get our kids to and from school. And sometimes that means that there are 3 to a seat. We're watching and monitoring our bus videotapes, and the administrators are right on top of it if they're hearing of any conflicts at all. So I just want to thank the parents, because what she says is true. A lot of our parents are bringing kids to and from school, and, it's a traffic congestion. So in working with the chief of police and others and the administration to help get people in and out of our schools safely and timely has been a real goal. So I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate their patience, and we will continue to work on this, and we're going to get it right. The STA company told me today they want to make it right. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Austin. I see that Ms. Baxter has her hand up again. Did you wish to speak again, Ms. Baxter?
I do, Madam, yes.
Please have the floor.
I do think that hoping that someone in the public, like parents, will become bus drivers is not going to fix this problem. I do think that hoping that the bus company is going to get it together is also not working. I think that the board needs to do something more. And the GPS you had mentioned, we did speak about that, and we spoke that there's laws in place that you can't do that. So we did speak about all these things that can happen long term, maybe a new road, but something needs to happen short term. And I do again want to express that I love this district. I have been here a very long time. And I do appreciate, after watching all the board meetings, I do appreciate everything that you guys do, and you do a lot. And I can appreciate, after speaking with you, I do believe that you care about the kids and you care about the situation, but it's just not enough.
Thank you. Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I definitely want to align my comments with Ms. Baxter. I received an email from her about a week or so ago.
Point of order.
Um,
Point of order.
Yeah.
Responses to citizen petitions are for clarification purposes only.
That's correct. Thank you. Representative Thomas, were you trying to clarify Ms. Baxter's comments? Ask her. We're not really addressing an issue. When I spoke to Ms. Baxter, I was trying to clarify whether there was something the RTM could do. This isn't really on our agenda. We can ask questions only through me or through, the town manager to clarify the presentation that was given.
mhm. All right. Well, that's interesting. I would ask then a clarifying question of the superintendent. If there is a plan to, what is the next step? As I guess, is there a more aggressive approach that could be taken to remedy the issue? Is there
Actually looked very carefully at our contract with attorneys, and we've specified areas that we want to have corrected. And the STA is promising that they will be correcting those measures.
And is there a timeline on that as far as like accountability?
Well, each day I have to tell you, it's getting better and better. And they do have several people who are in training. You need to understand that it takes 6 weeks because of the safety issues to train someone. It's not like you get a job and you get in the seat of the bus and you start driving. So our bus drivers have really specialized training in order to take our kids to and from school very safely. So we have to respect that. I've actually had a reach out from Connecticut State Department of Education around Transportation Task Force, asking how they can help support Groton. They've heard that Groton and other larger city areas have struggled with this. It's not just Groton's problem. It's a problem across the state and across the nation. So I'm working with all the constituents that we have, my Connecticut's Superintendent's Network. I've reached out to the governor's office. So we're doing everything in our power to make this right. And each day it's really gotten better in partnering with STA, I have to say.
Thank you. So at this point, I think we can either move on, or I could ask Ms. Baxter or Superintendent Austin if it would be helpful to refer this to our education committee, and they could consider it. I'm still not really entirely clear what, if anything, could be done about this from the RTM perspective, given our scope of our powers, except to amplify these concerns, on TV at our meetings, kind of. Ms. Baxter?
Yes, ma'am. I think that would be beneficial.
Okay, so I will ask Representative Whitney to put this issue of school buses on their agenda for their next meeting, if that will be a referral, to explore if there are ways that the RTM could facilitate this problem that has been brought to our attention by Ms. Baxter. The next person that we have to speak, I believe, is Mr. Purdy.
I'm here.
Sorry for that delay.
That's okay.
State your name and address, and then you're free to speak.
Stephen Purdy, 116 Oslo Street in Mystic, in the northeast corner. Do you have the ability for me to share my screen with you?
I believe that is possible, although I would not be the person to know how to do this. I think, do you have something that says share screen at the bottom?
Let me look.
It's a green tab.
A lot of that stuff that I normally see doesn't seem to be popping up here. Let me take a look. I mean, I can do it without doing that, but basically I have prepared a join as a panelist.
But you should have the ability.
It says if I join as a panelist, I can unmute.
Yeah, go ahead and join as a panelist, and then you'll be able to do what you need to do. Okay, you should be able to do it. You just need to unmute now, Mr. Purdy.
Okay. And
Do you have the green shared screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I got something else here. Let me see what we got. I couldn't start my video, which is okay. You don't need to see me. It's all right. I mean, if I can't share I don't see anything here that now tells me that I can share my screen.
If you scroll your mouse, your pointer over the bottom, it'll come to light. It'll be dark until you scroll your mouse over it.
Okay. Now, well, there we go. Well, let's not get bogged down in the mechanics here. I can say what I need to say as things are. And basically, the real reason that I wanted to talk to you is that I kind of see you people as being our House of Representatives, in the sense that you have the people that are closest to the people in the community that have issues to be dealt with. And my real issue is a lack of cooperation and transparency with, let's say, the upper house, which is the town council. So I'm a member of MOSA. You guys probably know what that is at this point, Mystic Oral School Advocates. And what we are really just a group of citizens who are concerned with the financial, social, and political future of the community. Yes, it started out as a group that some people would call NIMBY, people that are primarily located in the immediate area of the oral school up here on the top of the hill. But I think in the process of getting involved with the town government, that we've grown a lot. And at least one of the town council members has described us as being loud, well-organized, and mean. Well, yeah, we're loud, because if you're not loud, you don't get heard. You don't get heard. Are we well organized? Well, probably not as much as anyone thinks. We don't charge dues. We don't have formal membership. We don't elect officers. We simply discuss these issues and try to come up with a consensus, which is based on a wide range of people with different points of view as to how to deal with this particular problem. Are we mean? Well, if you think that having a point of view that's contrary to yours makes us mean, then I guess we're mean. One of our main concerns as this has gone on is a sense of silence and secrecy in our town government. And that works in more than one way. It's really a form of passive aggressiveness. It's a failure to communicate, which is outgoing from the town council. We hear nothing. We understand that they've been under a gag order from the attorneys as the situation has become critical. Although Mr. Byrd has recently sent an email saying that it's okay for them to talk as citizens, they just can't talk as members of the town council. And there's a legal consideration to that, and that is that the town council signed a document that said that they will support this development. And for them to not support it now, apparently some people think abrogates that. The second thing is they don't listen. We go and we talk, and it doesn't really seem to have much impact. And there is a general lack of transparency there in transacting the public's business. We don't know enough about what's going on. In terms of the original agreement that was signed with this particular development, there's a huge amount of secrecy involved. As far as I can tell, there was no involvement of the public, our voters and taxpayers on this project, which will have great long-term impact. And in the process the ongoing process, there have been far too many town council executive sessions, every time. And there are certain rules about what can be and can't be done or to justify an executive session, and I'm not sure that those rules are being followed. There also have been a number of negative responses to public requests from us for public information. So they have no accountability. The only way we've been able to find out what we have been able to find out so far is through freedom of information requests. And the town attorneys now have advised the town officials, and in town officials, I include sort of you guys, but also, the town council and certainly our hired personnel that are supposedly managing the town for us. And they've told us not to discuss this project with us at a very crucial point. And the fact is that the project as it exists conflicts with the approved plan for future development of Groton as a whole. Also, the whole process of selecting this developer was executed very poorly. There are unclear objectives and requirements in the request for proposals. There was no formal method of evaluation, and the whole thing was rushed with inadequately detailed comparative evaluation of the proposals. And certainly there appears to be very little documentation on that process and how the decision was made. And if there is any, it's not being shared. We also, of course, this is getting pretty infamous. There was a lack of due diligence in qualifying the proposers. The one we have has a lot of legal issues in his background. And then we committed to a developer for a project that has the potential of involving tens to maybe hundreds of millions of dollars for the town over the next 30 years without any public review and input. And also lately, there are certain elements in the agreements that the developer is supposed to follow with deadlines, and he hasn't done that. And it's only been very recently that they've started to follow up with him. So what are the problems with this? Well, the property itself is a so-called brownfield. It's very small. It's only 50 acres. This developer has proposed 1,000 apartments up there, which would involve 12 to 1,300 people, 12 to 1,300 automobiles going and coming from a property that's in a relatively isolated situation. And we're not even sure that our town government has evaluated the true economic impact of this. I've got numbers, but the only numbers that we have are cost estimates that came from the people proposing for what the value of the project is and what it's going to cost to remediate the property.
Point of order, is this limited to 4 minutes?
Excuse me?
No, 10 minutes. Representative Watson?
Isn't this limited to 4 minutes?
No.
The packet does.
10 minutes. It's at the moderator's discretion, and I had given 10 minutes when I asked.
Yeah, well, you can boot me off anytime that you want to.
No, you have 3 minutes approximately.
Yeah, I understood. It was 10
less.
Yeah,
it was 10. It's at about 2 now.
Right. So the property itself is a brownfield, and it was made that way by the state. And what is happening in this brownfield process is the state is trying to move remediation costs to the local towns through some kind of local tax abatement. And right now, the only numbers that we have are cost estimates that were made by proposers for the development. Our own staff should have developed estimates for what was a reasonable proposal, and they apparently did not do that. So we don't have any yardsticks for comparing those proposals. Basically, based on recent property purchases in the area, including several that were done by Mr. Respler, the selected developer, indicate that market value and developable condition for property in this area is about $26,000 to $35,000 an acre. At that rate, the market value of the site's about 1.3 million if it was clean and ready to build on today. What happened is the state abandoned the property in order to save $400,000 a year in operating costs. So in the last 10 years, they've saved $4 million, but as a result of the neglect of the property, we now have a $20 million reclamation liability. And the state should be the ones that's fixing that, not us. So the estimated cost by proposals, and these numbers may be questionable because this is what other people have estimated. We don't have an estimate from our own people. To remediate the property and rehab the buildings would cost $26 to $35 million. So an average of about $31 million. That's a cost of $620,000 an acre, which they want us to absorb. A conservative estimate to just raise the buildings and not try to rehabilitate them would be, let's say, half of that, about $12.5 million. So that's under $250,000 an acre. None of this makes any economic sense at all. So the cost to remediate exceeds the estimated market value of the property by a factor of 10 to 25. It's interesting that there were only 4 proposers when the RFP went out, and 3 of them were not interested in the brownfield situation at all. One developer offered $800,000 or $16,000 an acre for the whole thing. Another offered for the land and the buildings about $800,000, but they estimated $35 million to clean it up and rehab it. Not sure how they were going to do that.
Mr. Purdy, can you just wrap it up now? Because you're at 10 minutes.
Okay, fine. I'll do that. All right. Yeah, so it's much too much detail for you. So what do we need to do at this point? We need to find a way to work our way out of this situation. I think pretty much the agreement of people that understand it is that this is going to go into litigation. It's probably going to cost us a lot of money to just get out of it. And that's unfortunate. What I'm hoping is that we're going to find, and I don't want to get political about this, but that we're now going to wind up with a mixed town council that has a balance of people between the 2 political parties, and that somehow this thing is going to come to conclusion. Well, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay.
Nice.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy. Representative Chacon, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Mr. Purdy, a clarifying question?
Well, I did. I was going to ask what exactly, he told us his concerns. I wanted to see what he thought we should do, but I think he kind of answered his own thing that it's already in mediation. So,
I just think that the RTM needs to be more aware and active than they have been. Yes, this is probably going to go to litigation. It's probably going to cost us money. And what I'm hoping is that you people, as our more immediate representatives, are going to be somewhat more active in this than you have been in the past.
Thank you.
Representative Whitney?
Hi, thank you. My question is, could this maybe be referred to our Community Development and Services Committee? And I understand there mediation and legal issues with this, but at least to discuss the more general issue of how we redevelop a property like this, or how we move forward with it. Because I think that was a missing step, certainly originally, and maybe we can start to have more involvement now.
Well, I think you're right. And if you go back and look at last night's council meeting, one of the more interesting things is that they finally are starting to develop a formal procedure for evaluating requests for proposals and for dealing with developers. The big issue in this is that so far what they're concentrating on is the small school properties that belong to the town of Groton and that need to be redeveloped. And they have not yet dealt with what do you do if it is a property, which in this case belongs to the state, or possibly a property that is privately owned by a developer that could potentially cause financial costs to the town. The thing that seems to not get done is to look at the entire picture and say, well, what kind of infrastructure developments are needed in order for this to be successful? What are the ongoing operating costs going to be in terms of police, fire, and educational services? So I think there's a broader financial aspect to this that probably sits in your bailiwick a little more than it does in some other places.
Thank you. I mean, I'm happy to, refer this to community development. I'm just to explore what the RTM can do. I guess I don't necessarily see a role for us in either of these issues, but if that seems like a good idea, then we can refer this to community development services.
I will say that in the proposed methodology now for dealing with development that was discussed last night, there's a much broader role for the RTM than I've ever seen stated anywhere else. And so if you can go back and look at that, I think it's really a worthwhile thing to do.
Mr. Burt?
Yeah, just going to say, I would prefer if we could view last night's meeting and follow that so we don't double up the process, so at least we can see where the council's going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought that was very constructive in terms of where it was going, but it was, and I believe you stated that there might need to be a second stage of this that deals with properties that are not town owned.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this isn't town owned, so I don't know how often this type of scenario will occur, but well, why don't we let it sit then until there's some action from the town council on this, and people can review that video, and certainly it can be brought up again at the next meeting and referred at that point if there's a desire. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak tonight as a citizen's petition? Councilor Bordelon?
Thank you.
Some kind of echo.
Thank you. Portia Bordelon, 24 Jefferson Drive, Groton, Connecticut. For full disclosure, I'm also a Groton Town Councilor. I too share the concerns as many of the citizens as a parent in Groton and the concerns with the bus situation. I have been in direct contact with Susan Austin, the high school principal, and many other folks within that to discuss ways and concerns. On the very first day of school, from my own experience on the bus that my son was on, there was a delay of over an hour where high school students sat at the middle school for over an hour in hot weather, windows up, and there was very little ventilation. I must say that the situation has improved, but it definitely is not at a standard of quality in the concern for public health, well-being, and safety. My concern is we merged with these wonderful new magnet schools, and we also then decided in the same year to consolidate the middle school and high school runs. And then also there, has been a bus shortage. I've spoken to many of the constituents in towns and friends that are bus drivers, and they do an outstanding job to care for our children. And they too can share the concerns of sitting at the middle school, as before they were able to kind of leave and get off the bus, but now they have to stay to be kind of supervising in between runs. My concern is as we move towards winter and the weather gets colder, students will be sitting anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how the dismissal goes at the middle school. And the buses are not able to move. There's very little ventilation. It is a concern. I can understand that we have a bus shortage of staff, but maybe we should backpedal a little bit. And instead of saving money to consolidate the buses with the middle school and high school, the proposals that I had submitted to and spoken to the school about was ways in which we could go back to our original plan and limit the amount of buses per middle school and high school on the runs that were really short before, consolidate them and decrease that way. What I'm hoping to hear is that we're not going to continue to drag this along. As it was stated at one of the last Board of Ed meetings, the last elementary school student was getting off at 5:15, and that was an accomplishment. But from a parent's perspective, parents are concerned. And I know for myself, in the midst of COVID, my son barely rode a bus with 30 or 40 people. And now his bus stop is 30 kids, and it's 2 to 3 to a seat, high school, middle school. Also, folks are concerned with 11-year-old boys and girls riding bus with 17 to 18-year-old boys and girls, and are concerned with the behaviors and exposure to things at a much earlier age on the middle school level that they would not have been exposed to so early. So I urge the Board of Ed to make a swift decision in changing this and accommodating. Not everybody can afford or has the means to drive their kid to school. And therefore, folks who have to be to school early in the morning cannot drive their kid to school and are forced, as this is our only form of transportation. I speak up about this with no disrespect to the shortage or the bus drivers doing it. I actually align my marks with them and support them in the challenges of the shortage that they are experiencing, as well as the change and the constantly ever-changing routes. So I'm hoping that the Board of Ed will take a look at this, kind of scale it back, and maybe it was enough to open up the regional magnet schools this year, and that has changed the bus routes, and maybe go back to the original plan. High schoolers are also getting home much later in the day, as before they were getting home by 2:30. And this does pose concerns for after school activities for sporting events with our neighboring towns, that schools are still getting out at the same high school time. And now our students have to get out of school a little bit earlier to get out of the school parking lot in time to reach the other schools. The other things that were brought to my concern as well was safety concerns. Both schools are releasing at the same time, and I've driven up there to watch some of this. You can't, it's a deadlock. The buses that were originally supposed to leave through the Grosso Tech entrance that was so great at the time, now we're circling back through the high school and holding up the parent drop-off section, and it can literally take anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes to get in and out of there. I also brought up the suggestion of maybe staggering the drop-off and parent pickups outside of the bus schedule. I'm open to suggestions, but I think parents need swift action. I have spoken to parents in Branford Manor, and they're saying the bus is absolutely packed, 3 to a seat, and kids do not feel safe on there. So I hope that we get more bus drivers hired, but in the meantime, maybe it's time to go back to our original plan, separate the middle school and high school, allow our students to feel safe, parents to feel not frustrated with the delay in time and well-being and safety of our kids. Leaving children on the bus for 25 to 30 minutes in hot weather does pose public health concerns physically. Children can't use the restroom, and other children may have physical disabilities that may warrant attention that a single bus driver cannot attend to in that 35 to 40 minutes while they wait. Dropping children off at 5:15 at night as it is dark early also poses safety concerns for 8 to 9-year-old children who may be getting off the bus by themselves and do not have a parent home at that time, or a caregiver, and in the dark. So again, I want to support our Board of Ed and our town, and I'm hearing the concerns and I'm living the concerns myself. And I do appreciate this being referred to the Education Committee for further brainstorming and information gathering, because it's one thing to save money to consolidate the middle school and high school run, but it shouldn't be as a result of public health and safety. And I just encourage that we look for swift action. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Jacome, did you have a clarifying question?
I did. This might be for Superintendent Austin, but I'd like to ask her if she thinks that there is some sort of safety concern, both for COVID and dropping them off, late evening, early evening, should I say.
Certainly, my concerns are similar. We have really reduced that time to about 4:45 for our elementary runs and hope to see even a better turnaround. The children don't leave until 3:35, but we really want those runs under an hour. So that's really the goal. And we have been examining any concern that's come our way. We've been monitoring the bus tapes. We actually have monitors and aides on several of the buses. And we've actually done what Ms. Bordelon has suggested to do, and looking at several of our larger neighborhoods and trying to add extra bus routes to those so that our kids are sitting. The goal is 2 to a seat. Now, there are times when the bus drivers are absent and they have to bring in extra students. And so there are times when they are 3 to a seat. And in the elementary, it's not unusual for little ones to sit 3 to a seat in the front of the bus. But the goal is 66% capacity, and we're working on that. And STA is working with us on that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I have full confidence in you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Washington.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have a question for Ms. Borderline. It was nice that she brought this concern to the RTM and spoke for a while about it, but did she bring her concern to the Board of Education?
Representative Washington, I spoke with Susan Austin directly, and Sam Kirkpatrick, and they were relaying those concerns. As I was told, I have good faith in Susan Austin that she would bring that to the Board of Ed. I did try to attend 2 meetings ago, the Board of Ed on a Monday, but unfortunately I had conflicting schedule and I got there after public comment had happened. So, but I will be bringing that, but I did address, as she stated, Mrs. Austin, and she does speak to what concerns come to her to the Board of Ed members as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So now I believe there are no more public citizens petitions. Are there any additional citizens petitions? We will go to the receipt of communications, and I don't know if Representative Gustafson has arrived, but we did receive a communication that he might be late.
I'm here.
Oh, there we go. No need for the communication at this point. Any other communications anyone would like to share? Representative Kutowski?
Yes, thank you. A few weeks ago, I received an email from Mr. Yo, and I believe the town manager was also copied on it regarding the sidewalk that was missing on the corner of Deerfield and Huntington. And I would just like a status on that to find out if the additional 3 sidewalk squares have been fixed, if the sidewalk's been fixed.
I will have to check in with Deb Jones. She's the lead on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Washington?
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. A few weeks ago, I was speaking with one of my neighbors, and he asked me why, when town councilors and R.T.M members speak, why we don't show our faces, why we don't turn on our videos. And I told him I'm guilty of that. So he did make a request that when we do speak, if we can turn on our videos so the public can see the face of the person speaking.
Thank you for reminding us of that, Representative Washington. That was a request that Mr. Greeley had asked us to honor because he also has been getting comments about that. Representative Thomas?
Oh, I have one other thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I just want to congratulate Mary Morrison School for being awarded a National Blue Ribbon School. So I'd like to congratulate their staff and their students. I know that now they're part of Thames River Magnet Schools, but that is a great recognition for the Mary Morrison staff and students.
Yes, thank you for reminding us of that. That was a email a while back and I saw it on Facebook. So congratulations, Superintendent Austin, on that honor. Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah, so just as far as report of communications, I did receive an email from Ms. Baxter, who spoke earlier at this in the public comment, and regarding her concerns. And I replied to her suggesting that she come to this meeting and share her concerns. And so yeah, I'm glad to hear that there's action and some plans and activity in that direction to correct it. Now, also, I just saw, full disclosure, my stepson is on the marching band, and there is a marching band competition coming up, home show on October 23rd at Fitch High School. So we're looking for volunteers.
Mentioned the situation with the sidewalk.
I'm sorry, what?
Representative Katowski, I think you're not on mute. There you go.
Okay.
Please continue with your communication.
Sure. Yeah, so I would just encourage the community to come out and support the marching band at Fitch during their home show, and any volunteers would to help facilitate any sort of aspect of the operation would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Whitney?
I'm sorry, what was that date again? October for
25th.
the home competition? What?
Was it October 25th?
23rd, this next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Thank you. Representative Whitney?
I was just giving an update in response to Representative Katowski's a question about the sidewalk at Huntington Ridge and Deerfield Ridge. It's not repaired. It's been that way for over a year. It's definitely not repaired yet.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more hands up, we can move on to the report of the town manager.
Good evening. One second, please. Financial report, and I will be sending this out to everyone like I usually do. Preliminary fund balance as of June 30th, 21, unaudited, is approximately 32 million, which is 24% of the FYE 21 general fund adopted budget. We won't know final numbers until around the end of the year. The general contingency budget for 22 was appropriated at 350,000, and the current balance is 341,000. The capital reserve fund balance as of June 30th, 21, unaudited, is estimated at 1.1 million. That's it for the financials. For my report, COVID, I think we were at 12.6 cases per 100,000 per day, 68 cases over a 2-week period last Thursday. I'm eager to see the report tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully we were closing, we're getting to the bottom of the orange category. So hopefully I'm hoping to slide into yellow soon. But Ledgely did reach out to me a few days ago and asked that we keep the mask mandate for a little while longer to keep us heading in the right direction. But I am hopeful that soon we'll be able to move away from that, but not until the health department feels comfortable with that. Debt policy, the town did amend its debt policy and management fiscal practices by increasing the general fund's unassigned fund balance. They raised it from 11% to 15%. And then an annual review if the percentage exceeds 20%. So if you get up over 20%, we want a bit of a cushion. But if you go up over 20%, now they do get the number every year anyhow, and they can at any time after the audit decide to do something with fund balance. However, this is a mandatory, basically agenda item if it goes above 20% after the audit is received toward around the end of the year. Let's see.
And then, Mr. Burt, that was in response to the letter sent by the RTM that.
Yeah,
that
it's
policy.
right.
Thank you.
And then I did my report. I've copied the original request from the RTM just so you have that. So you'll have that in just a little while. Cannabis, the Planning and Zoning Commission last night passed a prohibition on cannabis establishments. That is simply a short-term thing to do while they put in place new rules. They intend to do that as quickly as they can. Town Council is going to be discussing cannabis smoking on public property at their October 26th cow. Just letting you know about that. The council did approve the Cork Reports 3 recommendations and have created what for now is called the Police and Citizens Committee. They've left it up to that committee to recommend a name, so that could change, but that's the name currently. You may have noticed, if you maybe not, but I've actually had a lot of comments about we've just had the town hall trim refinished in the front door. We actually get a lot of comments on that, so must have been worse than I thought. So thank you for the funds. Riverview Avenue, we've had a pretty good discussion about that last night. And just as a reminder, that's the property on Riverview Avenue in Noank where historically public have parked, and there's 6 parking spots there. Part of it was discovered to likely be owned by a private entity that put rocks up. So we're working our way through that. There's been a proposal from the property owner. We are going to have that on the council likely at the November 9th cow, but also before the council actually starts, an informational session in the senior center showing what's going on with it. So I will get the information out there though as soon as it's locked in. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Burt. I don't know if Mr. Reiner is going to join us today. There were a few questions at our last meeting. I don't know if he passed on any communications.
He is on here. I forget offhand though what anything I would have received I would have passed on, but I don't remember what they are offhand.
Okay. Well, there were questions about basically the distribution of open space in the town of Groton on the east side versus the west side, and also if the plan of conservation of the towns included the city, and if the city had its own open space plan.
Mr. Reiner, are you? I know he's
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. So the city does have their own POCD. That's something that they handle and do on their own. Our Conservation Commission had updated their own open space plan recently. The POCD of the town does have open space calculations, and it's something that we're actually looking into and we're working on with our GIS department. It's something we're also in conversations with the Town Conservation Commission about how to look at and define open space, because depending on how you define it, we come up with very different numbers.
Thank you. So did the city have its own open space plan that's part of the POCD?
They must have their own open space component to their POCD. I don't know if they have an open space specific plan.
And were you able to find out anything about the distribution of open space in the town, kind of the equity of that east versus west?
That's something we're actually working with our Parks and Rec department. So they have an older 2009 Parks and Rec plan that looked at more facilities as opposed to open space itself. And again, it's looking at how do we define open space. So give us a little more time. It's something we're trying to dig into a little more because again, some people would say that Groton Utilities land is considered open space because it's protecting the watershed, but it's not necessarily open to the public. Some private open space could be considered quote unquote open space because in a sense it's protected, it's not used. You know, is a golf course open space or is it managed recreation space? So again, it's something we got to spend a little bit more time on. And I think it's actually going to turn into a much broader community conversation. But I do think that we can do some work on that, get some numbers back to the RTM and others, and then probably build upon that in the future.
Thank you. Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have a couple of questions for Town Manager. As chair of the Cork Civilian Oversight Research Committee, I'm definitely appreciative that the consensus recommendations were accepted by the council. However, I did feel some frustration as far as the deliberation that occurred in the town council. There was a number of moments in that meeting where it felt like a clarifying voice, someone who was experienced with the report, could have walked through the council members a couple of aspects, and felt a little frustrated that I was not invited to serve in that capacity to speak during those sessions. But I'm glad they finally got to a good place, and I'm just curious to know what is the timeline for the formation of the was it police and civilian?
Police and I think is it citizens or civilians? Sorry, I just blinked on that. Give me a sec here. I believe it's citizens, police and citizens committee. Well, you know, of course, I've got to check. Madam Clerk, have you posted anything on the website? I had that in my notes to check.
Yes, we do have. We have it on our website. We have it on GMTV. It's not singled out on its own. It's also included with all the other vacancies that we're trying to fill, including the tax abatement committee. That is just a 60-day committee, and I can't seem to fill it. So please talk to your friends. I do have two actual applications for the new committee, and one that I got an application, but he's not a registered voter, so we're gonna wait till he becomes a registered voter. But those will be vetted by the political parties and then the town council appointments committee.
All right, so just to be clear, that those vacancies are posted on the town website, and we are currently looking for volunteers for both the police and citizens committee and the conveyance tax committee. Is that correct?
Tax abatement, I believe she
Tax
said.
abatement committee. Got it. All right. Well, I got conveyance tax on my brain. Curious to know what's the current status of the conveyance tax situation.
There is nothing to report. The council committee of the whole has not recommended that for approval to the council yet. So, you know, they're gathering information.
Okay. And what is the current status of the long-term recovery committee? I know that they're deliberating on the ARPA funds, and I was listening for that in your town manager report. I wasn't sure if did I miss something, or did you discuss that, or is that a thing?
I haven't discussed it. Well, I mean, we would, you know, you'll see some information, I'm sure, in the materials for tonight. They continue to meet regularly. They just had business community, and then those that's an open meeting, and Councilor Madam Moderator serves on that too, so she can always give an update. But you're welcome to view the videos on GMTV or look at the minutes. And they have forwarded some things like what's going tonight to the RTM through the council to the RTM, but they continue to meet. Next, matter of fact, thank you for reminding me, on the 19th next week, there's going to be 2 open houses for public comment, public input. And I believe the first one's from 1 to 3 o'clock at, let me give me a second, let me pull up my calendar, just double check this. I believe the first one's from 1 to 3 o'clock at the city municipal building, a joint meeting with the city. so they can also collect input for theirs at the same time. And then that night, yes, 1 to 3 o'clock for the first one, and here 6:30 to 8:30 at the senior center for the second one. There'll be a lot of other ways that there's public outreach, but that's a quickly upcoming one. So people, you can stop in at any time during those time slots. You don't have to be there at the beginning. So thank you for reminding me about that.
Good. Thank you for that. Now, are there any other like community survey efforts going on as far as like say canvassing neighborhoods or knocking on doors, so to speak?
They're preparing, and John might be able to speak better to this, but for one thing, they've got a new software system. The city's actually adopting the same software that it's kind of a survey software, but it's much more interactive. They're getting ready to go out with that. They're working on setting that up online. Let's see, they're going to, I think they're doing a direct mailing to households throughout the town. They were talking about sending things home from the schools. I don't know if that's currently Tabitha Harkin and the planning department is taking the lead on that, but there's gonna be many different ways. There's gonna be booths set up at certain times, like at the library, to collect input. So there's gonna be a variety of ways.
Okay. Well, thank you for all that. And one other thing, as far as I was watching the town council meeting the other night, or last night, I should say, and towards the end, there's discussion of the RFP, the revision of how that process works. And it seemed like there was some, you mentioned that the RTM had changed our rules and created a different situation as far as how we review the sale of properties.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of counselors had some concern with that. And I was wondering if you maybe could just share a little recap of that moment with the RTM.
Pretty much what you said. Of course, the rule that was adopted in August by the RTM requiring before you any vote on selling property, the information required, you require information for the appraisal, basically the zoning, the uses preferred and like special uses on a piece of property, as well as the approximate selling price. And that just does switch up the flow chart a little bit is what it does, which we talked about before, at least at the rules committee. So I was asked by 2 council members to reach out to attorneys just to double check that there's no issue with it.
And you're confident that there's no issue, in your opinion?
I don't believe there is, but I wanted to double check on some language. I just want to run it down a little bit more, so I'm not committing, but I believe there's not an issue.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burt. Is there a report on economic development? No.
There's not one prepared, no.
Superintendent Austin, did you want to give a superintendent's report? And I see Representative Washington has her hand raised. Representative Washington?
Yes, I just have a quick question to the town manager. Right now, when you go pay your taxes, you can only pay by cash or check. Are you thinking about another option of paying your taxes by credit card? Is that something that could happen in the future?
I know we keep kicking it around. However, I do have the finance director who's much more of an expert than me. I believe she's still in. Cindy, are you available?
Hello, everyone. You do have the option to pay by credit card. We have a terminal in the town hall right by the tax office window that can be used for credit cards. And you can also pay online using a credit card. You don't have to come to the window. Though we do not take credit cards over the counter at the town hall as of yet.
Is that something you're looking to do in the future?
We have been looking at, as Town Manager Burt said, we've kicked it around several times. There's a lot of different areas that we need to review, and one is the cost. It's very costly for us to use credit cards, and if you recall, many years ago, we did take credit cards in the tax office, and that was discontinued when the fees that the credit card companies charged, the processing fees became too exorbitant.
We are looking at it, but we're trying to find a way how to mitigate those fees, and if it's possible to pay, to use a convenience fee, but we are still looking at it. And when we were the purchasing of the new software that we're still implementing, Munis did have a credit card option, so we want to get that cashiering system fully operating, and then we will continue to look at taking credit cards townwide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Superintendent Austin, did you wish to give a brief report?
I'd be happy to. I just want the community to know that we are working really diligently to resolve any bus driver shortages. While we don't employ the bus drivers, we are working closely with STA, and we're communicating as best we can. As soon as we have information, the bus company gives it to us, and my executive secretary has been getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and making sure those school messengers are sent out to families that any bus driver shortage has impacted. So just know that we're working really diligently on this matter, and it is going to be resolved, and we're going to do it together. So I appreciate our bus drivers and look forward to having more people join the force. They're really recruiting, so spread the word. We're also looking for more paraprofessionals and custodians. I think you've noticed that, there are some jobs that are, not being filled across the state. And, we're trying to really encourage people to come, and there's no better place than being in schools. I'm in schools every day. And when I see what's happening in the Magnet Elementary schools and the enrichment programs, and I hear from the kids and the teachers, I go into the middle school and see the project lead the way, and the math and the sciences and the music and the opportunities that our kids have, as well as, at the high school. And later I'll be talking to you a little bit more about our 5th Department of Defense Education Activity Grant that we've received. Probably, it's close to $1 million. Each one has been around $1 million. And it's really afforded us some expert professional learning, professional development for our staff. And we are so proud of our Mary Morrison population, who is now at Thames River, and our teachers and staff. This is our 2nd blue ribbon in 5 years. Charles Barnum was the first that we had when Dr. Grenier and I first got here. Mary Morrison, now Thames River, is receiving another one. We'll be going to Washington and meeting our former commissioner, Miguel Cardona, who came to Claude Chester and visited us when he first became commissioner. He's now Secretary of Education. And it really is, I say it's really a blue ribbon for the whole district, because all of our teachers and staff have really created something special with learning and really engaging kids in their learning, and the professional work that has gone behind it. So while there are things that, are a struggle and a challenge, and we face them and we have to work towards, making them better, there are also some things that we can really feel Groton proud of. So that's just a few words that I have to say.
Thank you. Representative Frickman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. And this is just really a follow-up question to some of the busing concerns earlier. But I really had two issues that really I wanted to question on. One, on Fishtown in the afternoon to drive through Fishtown. I don't know if this is an issue for the school as well as the BERT too, but there's an issue with the traffic and the car and the buses all waiting on the side of the road on Fishtown, waiting to get into Mystic Middle School, and how long people have to wait, because I don't think there's enough room for buses inside the parking lot. And the other issue too was in regards to the middle school kids, some of the buses, they drop the high school kids off at 7:20, and the kids have to sit on the bus and wait until about 7:40 until the middle school opens up. Is there a plan on how to alleviate that and allow the kids into the building earlier? And I understand as a teacher in buildings, but in the high school level, our kids are in before all the staff are in. But Is there something in place right now, or at least in discussion, on how to alleviate that to allow the kids into the building instead of sitting on the buses for 20 minutes?
We're actually monitoring that. We have GPS systems on the bus and we have people on site looking at that. And it's really been an effort to get the buses to the high school prior to their bell, which is 7:40. So they're doing that now, but it's not like they're getting there, all of them in ample time. So they're kind of coming in 7:20, 7:25, 7:40, 7:45, and then they move on to the middle school. And so the middle school then unloads, really, so they're all off the bus by 7:40. So, but as they come in, they, tend to unload. But we'll be looking at that GPS. I'm in constant communication with administration there. And thanks to Sam Kilpatrick, who does an awesome job overseeing the transportation. He and many of us, I've been on site many times in the morning and in the afternoon, but I would say that we're also monitoring carefully the GPS system that we have that really shows us the routing of the buses and how long they're staying in any one place.
So is there a way though to open the school up to allow, because I know there are staff there prior to 7:40. Is there a way to allow the kids into the building earlier so they don't have to wait in the bus?
Yes, we're working on that with the principal to make sure that they're unloading when they get there.
Okay, thank you. And any issue, what about the issue regarding the traffic on Fishtown for the Mystic River Academy?
So it's interesting. That's Mystic River Magnet. It's
Yes.
interesting. I drive by there every day, probably about that time, after I've gone to the middle school and high school. And I have not seen the backup. So I do know parents are coming in on one side and the bus is actually coming in on another side. So they actually have different ways to enter so that they're not like coming in together. So I will check with the principal on that and I'll look at the GPSs too to see. And if we, I work with the chief of police, and if we need extra support in getting people in and out, I'll ask him for that.
Thanks, Mr. Austin. And I just want to add too that yes, there has been a lot of improvement since week one, and I appreciate that. Like things are definitely working better. But yeah, I just would love to see if they can get into that building prior, that'd be great. Yep. So they're not sitting out waiting outside, especially when it starts getting cold. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I do. Yeah, we want what's best for the kids, for sure.
Thank you. Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Superintendent Austin, just a quick question, looking like, immediate and also long-term. A lot of the concerns I've heard in the community, as well as having the jam up with the buses and just like the slow process, but, is one thing. But another profound concern people have had have to do with the idea of having middle schoolers and high schoolers on the same bus together. Some people I've spoken with have just a discomfort with the idea of those particular ages mixing at that particular time. And so is there any thought that we might just go back to a 3-tier system where the high schoolers are doing high school and middle school is doing middle school and elementaries are doing elementaries, and maybe finding consolidation within those school groups, so like have buses do a little bit longer route and pick up more kids, but all the same age group?
So there are a couple factors involved in this, Mr. Thomas. We needed the time for our buses to go across the town for the 5 intra-district magnet schools. We also have an international baccalaureate campus that has lots of opportunities for our kids in both middle school and high school. We're able to share staff. Our kids are able to take high school courses. They're able to participate in activities after school. And one of the things that we've noticed in all the research and all the experiences that we've had, many administrators and myself, that actually when you're bringing in kids, kind of from the same household, from the same neighborhoods into the school district that are multi-age, there really aren't conflicts. As a matter of fact, behavior actually improves when you have both high school and middle school students. High school kids tend to be kind of connected in with their technology in the back of the bus. We really do try to keep the middle school kids in the front and the high school kids in the back, although it's not an exact science. And, you know, kids get on in different ways. Sometimes the high school kids are sitting by the window and the middle school kids are sitting towards the aisle. But we are monitoring that. We have the right technology to monitor that. Kids do speak up if they see things, they say something. I mean, I think that's really important in a school community. And also bus drivers, you know, are working with administration if there's any problem. But I have not seen any increased activity at all from years past. And I just trust my administrators to be working on this. And if something does come up, we certainly inform families and we do something about it to make it better.
Thank you, Superintendent Austin. Yeah, I'll reach back out to the constituents I spoke with because they were definitely you know, very concerned and
if they have an exact concern with their child, they should definitely speak to administration. You know, in the past, we've put on our website a place for parents to tune in, and I think it's about time that I put something up there so I can get that information. Any parent that reaches out to me or to the board members, I've asked board members to let me know. And I oftentimes not only will reach out by email, but we'll ask people to come in if they have some concerns so we can talk it out. And I learn a lot through that. So I would encourage that to continue to happen.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Madam Moderator.
Representative Whitney, thank you.
Thank you. I have two quick questions. One of them is when we approved the budget and the budget was put together for this year, it was a 3-tiered bus system. Now that it's a 2-tier bus system, is there a cost difference either way? And
well, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, you can answer that. It's fine.
Well, our idea was that there would be some efficiencies with this, but unfortunately, because of the bus driver shortage, we were down 5 bus drivers, and day to day, we could have 1 to 5 additional bus driver shortages. So we're down about a quarter of our fleet. So we're keeping really close track and monitoring our contract and, you know, some of the things that aren't able to happen, and we're in communication with STA. I don't see how we would have ever, it's almost a blessing we had a 2-tier because I don't think we could have ever done a 3-tier with with a quarter of our fleet down. But our bus drivers are still working just as hard and they're doing just as many hours in a day. So that hasn't, you know, cost them anything, but certainly we're looking for any other efficiencies we can find.
Thank you. And my other question is about Mystic River Magnet School. I've heard some concerns about walkers to the school, and I understand this is the site where Cutler had been, but now the age profile of the students is, of course, younger. And I was just wondering, do you feel that there are places where the sidewalk could be improved because this could be a infrastructure effort that the town could invest in?
We can certainly take a closer look at that. Representative Whitney, today I was driving past and we had a couple of students on bikes with their helmets and then a couple moms walking with their children and the dog. And I thought to myself, how wonderful a community that we can still do these things, you know? And because we have 5 schools and they're separated out more, we don't have as many walkers and riders like we used to, but we still do have a few at every one of our buildings. So it can be a really wonderful thing too. So I will look at the sidewalks though. I'll make sure that we're okay. I have noticed a crossing guard there every single time crossing over the road. So I do know that working with the police department, they're providing both in the city and the town crossing guards to make sure our kids are really safe, you know, crossing any major roads.
Thank you. And this is the last one was just a comment that I hear intramurals at the middle school level are of great interest and kind of overprescribed, really. So it's wonderful to see that increased interest that the kids are thirsting for. So I think anything that people could come up with for intramurals, they'd have interested students.
Right. And clubs and enrichment and tutoring. Those are all built into our ESSER plan. So we are really encouraging that, during the day and beyond the school day. And that's what engages kids, and that's what makes them want to come to school. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I believe, Madam the Clerk Betsy had wanted
Go
to.
ahead and take
Okay.
the representatives before me, because I just,
switch gears.
my comments
Okay.
will go to the Education Committee.
Representative Washington.
I just have a comment, and this is to the superintendent. And in regard to the bus situation, the mixture of the high school and the middle school students, I would hope that we are going to be proactive and not have to react to a negative situation. So if you can really make sure that those students are separated on the bus, I think that would really put my mind at ease. And I'm sure it would put parents' mind at ease. So I hope we're going to be proactive and not reactive.
I agree. It's always better to be much more proactive, and we'll definitely be monitoring that. So thank you.
Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just a quick follow-up. This talk about enrichment kind of sparked a thought in my head. At the marching band competitions I've attended recently, of course, we know that the Fitch Marching Band has, had a bit of a changeover, and there's been a drop in the size of the band. And I was at a competition last week, and there was one of the bands there that actually had 8th graders as kind of like junior members that they were able to kind of fill out the ranks with to help, flood the field. While, the older students, took the lead instruments, but they had other students on field. So I was wondering, is there something we could do here to help create a feeder program from the middle school? I mean, since the campuses are so close and they are sharing some time together on the buses, maybe there's a way we can use that to help rebuild the band program in a quicker fashion.
That's the exact synergy I want to see happen. And we've done that in the past. So it's something I was just thinking about not too long ago, about making sure we encourage some of our 8th graders to start participating. That's a great example of what we can do together. So, and it's happened in the past. So I would like to see it continue. And we have a wonderful music program. It starts when they're in, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, and we have the bands and the orchestras in all of our elementary schools. So we have something fabulous here that I want to continue to see grow and develop. And there's nothing like seeing those kids in their band uniforms and, so proud and ready to perform. So I hope we get a big crowd at our, competition at Fitch.
Likewise. I hope so too. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, because I believe I was told about 12 seniors are due to graduate this year, and that's almost like half the band. So it'd be good to, if we can get like a minor.
We have to start cultivating it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Betsy, you have the floor.
Thanks. Is everybody finished with Dr. Austin?
I believe so. No more.
Because my information, I just wanted to address that we do still have a vacancy in the 4th district, and we did try to put a caucus together, and several members of the caucus did attend, but we needed a quorum. So I'm going to pursue another caucus between the 2 meetings, if that's what the body wants. The term ends this RTM. The term ends December 7th. So whether or not we should bother to fill that for one meeting, I don't know. It's up to you.
Well, I think this body meets in November, the same body, right? Isn't that correct?
Mm-hmm. One more meeting.
I would suggest meeting if we could have a caucus between now and then. That would be good.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda are the liaison reports, and I know that the town clerk did send many of these out, so you can keep them brief. Representative Cassieri, if you want to have a town council report.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will only go over the items we haven't discussed to keep it short. The council passed 2021 revised assistant assessor job description. They just changed the qualifications because of a lack of qualified candidates. I'm sorry, they met on October 5th at 6:30 to just give the meeting date. They have a public hearing set for River Road tree removal because they're removing 2 street trees on River Road. And they passed 2021-673-1208 Pequannock Road Brownfield grant application. The council passed a resolution endorsing the submittal of an application to the state of Connecticut Brownfield Remediation Program for 1208 Pequannock Road. And everything else we will be discussing tonight. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Cassieri. Representative Wells, did you have a golf advisory committee meeting?
Yes, I
Liaison
do.
report?
Let's start the video here. We had a meeting on Monday, September 13th. Total revenue for the fiscal year ending June 30th was a record 17% greater than the prior fiscal year, which was also a record. This is an incredible 62% over the prior 4-year average, which includes last year's, which the 4-year average, which would include last year's record revenue. August revenue was up just 2.8% over last year, so we may be at the crest here. This is a turnaround from going into the pandemic, facing the added expense of COVID restrictions and thinking the course might have to close. With revenue growing beyond a buffer against bad weather, the course is facing the unprecedented question of how to best to employ these farmers. There was a 5-year CIP plan for the course, which got sidetracked in year 1 or 2. The course could participate alongside, but not in lieu of that plan. We have a relatively small staff compared to other courses and haven't been able to hire as many summer part-time help as in the past. Some things that could be done aren't being done. Bearing in mind that golf courses don't pay for themselves, the money to support them comes from associated restaurants, hotels, condos, conference centers. Groton has all these, but doesn't profit directly from them. Golf Magazine rated Shinnecock in the top 100 value courses nationwide. We were number 100, but it does create interest, and you can't travel across the country looking for a golf course. Players comment on the course that the course is in exceptional condition, despite having a smaller than usual staff for a course. The smart management is evident in the Shinnecock Golf Course Best Practice Manual is available on the town website. Along with the revenue boom, we're experiencing continued increase in Facebook likes and followers. Also, online booking of tee times is increasingly popular. About the surplus, no one wants. It's not kept in a. They don't keep it in a cookie jar in the pro shop. It's held with town funds, and the manager can explain, exactly what the implication is. But no one wants to spend money on it. No one wants to see improvements to the course more than the golf course. They're just not going to run out and blow the money just to look like they've spent it. They need a plan, and they need to proceed in a cautious manner. They did have at one point a couple of years ago, they had $150,000 surplus, and it was disappeared with a string of bad weekend weather in the late winter. So anyway, that's all there is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Wells. Representative Jones, did you have a Trails Advisory Committee meeting?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Trails Coordinating Task Force met on September 16th. I'll just try to go through this quickly. We met the new town GIS director, Noah Feldman, sort of a meet and greet, just getting to know him a little bit. He's going to be working on the new GIS system and sort of adapting that. He also talked a little bit about developing a mobile app for the GIS system. We had individual reports on Avalonia. They have acquired some new property in Norwich, 47 new acres, and they are applying for reaccreditation to the Land Trust Alliance. On COP property, Chad Frost is working with Groton Utilities on connecting trails for the Tri-Town Trails project. On the Crosstown Trail, the Fishtown Brook Bridge by the Mystic River School is complete. The path is clear and is ready to go. During the meeting, they talked about the day and time for opening, and that opening will be this coming Tuesday, October 19th, excuse me, at 5 p.m. It's behind the Mystic River Magnet School. That's a great addition to that trail. Groton Open Space talked about the 5.5 acre purchase at Waltz Walls and Woods on Drosdick Drive, highlighted the area in the hand-built walls. They're adding a loop trail and cleaning it up, building trails at Cheap Farm and adding a new bridge over Fort Hill Brook. Talked with Mayor Hendrick, advocating for trails on Thomas Road to the Konaski School, and talked about having him join in the December meeting. On town trails, Mark Berry talked about an extension of the trail to Depot Road. On Tri-Town trails, there's a lot of celebration there. They've completed 14 crossings, including a new aluminum bridge. And the rainstorm Ida destroyed one of the bridges, but it has been rebuilt and is elevated 3 feet higher. The open house was held October 3rd at Preston Community Park, and everyone is excited to have a new trail. They are continuing to meet with Groton Utilities to extend the trail through their property, and it's still moving forward. Everyone is still talking. Unfinished business, none. On new business, Tom Olson talked about the Connecticut Greenway designation. Parks and Rec submitted to the state a Greenway request for the entire green belt. The POCD be designated as a Greenway. The submission was not approved by the state. The Conservation Commission is looking for the best way to move forward with different areas of submission to the state and working with Parks and Recs to see if the task force can help move green belts forward. What they've decided is the thought is to make submissions simpler and more focused. And there are 3 areas, Groton Open Space, Ghost of Land, Tri-Town Trails, and the Gold Star Bridge area. And I attached a map in the minutes. You can take a look at that. They need to submit, the next submission needs to be by the end of March 2022, and it'll be final by June 2022. Town Council will need to approve final submissions on Greenway designations. Conservation Commission is working with Noah Feldman and the GIS on details. Maple Glen Open Space, town recently requested a transfer of this land to the town. It's a 20-acre parcel off of Pleasant Valley North near Brown Hill Road and Gunjiwat Road. There are some social trails on the property. These need to be looked at and additional trails added. Looking for volunteers for the trails force to help lay out new trails. We'll also reach out to GCA, the Groton Conservation Advocates, to help with trails. Next meeting is December 2nd, and the meeting adjourned at 5:02.
Thank you so much. Representative Rust, is there an Economic Development Commission report?
No, my apologies. I was on vacation that day.
That's fine. Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention again, we don't have a Board of Ed liaison. If anyone's interested in that, please contact me offline. Representative Chase, did you have a liaison, R.T.M. Board of Ed, Town Council, City of Groton liaison report?
We had no meeting in September or October, so there's no report.
Perfect. Thank you. If there are any other R.T.M. liaisons who wish to give a report at this time, please do. Representative Flax.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Fields Committee met on September 16th, and the new business was to discuss alternative conceptual designs for the Clodchester property. Chad Frost explained the conceptual designs that Kent and Frost prepared for the Clodchester property. All the designs contained fields, and some also contained other development, residential, commercial. After much discussion, the task force arrived at consensus that the recommendation to the town council was that the property should be used to provide the fields called for in the findings. That's the study. Concerns were raised about including the additional development on the property carried risk of delay dividing the project into smaller pieces that are less likely to be accomplished. No other readily available location for the SQ70 baseball field of not being able to accommodate all of the fields the town needs. There was a short discussion about some potential funding for replacement or renovation of the field house at Fitch. The task force felt strongly that this should be explored and to secure any funding available, provided that any work can be done in conjunction with the recommended field solution for Fitch High School that the task force also strongly supports. And that was it. Next meeting is October 21st.
Thank you so much. Any other reports? Seeing none, we can turn to the next item on our agenda, which is the Community Development and Services. Is Chairman Gauthier there? And I know they did meet. We had their minutes read last time, and I believe they met again.
She's not here, but they did meet, and they did have something to put on the floor. Rats.
Is there anyone from that committee who would like Representative Bailey?
Yes, please. I wasn't present at the committee, but I have the minutes. The minutes are not in tonight's package, but it's pretty short and sweet. And that can possibly be put into this meeting at a later date. Appreciated. But I'm ready to read the minutes if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Community Development and Services Committee met Thursday, October 7th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Call to order at 7 p.m. Roll call. Representatives Baker, Kopp, Hanscom, and Guthier. Discussion. The flyer was amended to remove the term liaison and replace with participant. Chairman Guthier will coordinate with the Board of Education to distribute the questionnaire and informational flyer and add the point of contact information for each school distribution as appropriate. The point of contact will then send information collected to the chair of the Community Development and Services Committee, and the committee will review the candidates and make a selection slant recommendation to the RTM full body. Motion was made by Representative Kopp to approve the described procedure, flyer, and questionnaire, seconded by Representative Baker. 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstention. Motion to adjourn made by Representative Hanscom. Meeting adjourned at 7:05 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second, Chase.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from the October 7th, Community Development and Services Committee meeting made by Representative Bailey, seconded by Representative Chase. Is there any discussion on those minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving them, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seems like those minutes passed unanimously. I know there was like a flyer put in, and I don't know if anyone, Representative Richards, were you at that meeting too? Or you just were commenting on that? Representative Richards, or let me take Representative Bailey first. Representative Bailey?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I request to make a motion to approve the flyer as is.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the flyer as is made by Representative Bailey, seconded by Representative Baker. Representative Richards, you have your hand raised.
Actually, first I have a point of clarification. I believe that the motion that was made at the committee was for both the communication plan and the flyer. Should we do both together here, or is there a reason to separate them?
Well, we already have a motion on the floor, so there's a reason to do them separately.
Okay, well, I can speak to that. I did look at the flyer, and I do have a request to change the flyer. When you look at it, there's probably what was like a clip art, kind of generic room full of people talking and communicating as a part of it. And I think, it's supposed to be kind of a generic in that sense, but when you look at it, all of the people have white faces and white skin and all that. They also have all dark hair. And I think this is an opportunity for us to do better and make sure we're being inclusive, and that we're not trying to put out there that we all should look the same, and that the default and norm often is in our society that we think of white. So I think we need to change that image to reflect that we want to have people from all different backgrounds as included in this.
I think that's a good idea personally. So that's an amendment to that.
I'm going to try to get the flyer up on the screen. I'm sorry, Madam Moderator.
It's in everyone's packet, I think.
It is.
Yeah, so I would move to make an amendment to change the graphic of the people in that flyer.
I would second that also.
So we have an amendment made by Representative Richards and seconded by Representative Hanscom to change the image within the flyer to something that's a little more reflective of our community in terms of diversity. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Representative Washington, do you want to speak to the amendment?
Oh, no, I disagree. I agree with the amendment. I just saw a typo on the flyer.
Okay, why don't you
where it says let leadership know what students, it should be no apostrophe. Should just be an S at the end of students.
Okay, thank you. So we have some changes to make to this, and Madam Clerk, should we vote on these changes, or can we just vote on the flyer as amended?
I really think that everyone understands what you want changed, including the typo and the graphics. If you want to wait and see the new flyer before you approve it, that's certainly up to you.
Representative Richards, what would you like to wait on that? We could postpone this vote to our next meeting when we have a revised flyer.
I think that would be acceptable, as probably we won't be looking at adding people to this in the immediate future. So I'm okay with waiting for a revision.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion to postpone that, or I see other hands up, maybe we can keep going. Representative Jones.
The other correction on that flyer is it needs a contact. It just says XXXXX.
Yeah, I suppose we should discuss that. Would the clerk's office be the appropriate phone number for that, or what do you, since you have the floor, Representative Jones, who would you think would be the appropriate contact?
Probably, I mean, I'm not exactly sure who's sort of managing this. Is it a committee, or is it going through the clerk's office for this program? It just needs to be a central place so the kids can find out more information.
Yeah.
I think the original intent, Madam Moderator, was that the committee would be vetting the applicants. So, but you still have to flood the applicants. The applications should go to the clerk's office and then to the committee.
Yeah, I think that's that. So if we could put the clerk's contact information, the office of the clerk, just like any appointment to any kind of committee, we can route it through there, and then then the clerk can get that to the Community Development Services Committee. Thank you. Let's see,
Thank you,
Representative
Madam Moderator.
Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah, I just wanted to align my comments with Representative Richards. I agree with that assessment as far as the visual representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Adams.
Yes, I noticed a spelling mistake, a letter omission in the box where it says provide input on town programs, and it's supposed to be initiatives. There's an I missing after the N.
Yes, there is. You guys are good proofreaders. So I do think this should probably go back with the students, the extra apostrophe, the typo on initiatives, maybe a different graphic, and also the town clerk contact. I don't see any new hands up, but if there would be a motion to postpone, since we have a motion on the floor, if we could have a motion to postpone acting on this until the November meeting, that would be helpful.
Motion to postpone, Adams.
Second, Washington.
All right, we have a motion to postpone this, the approval of this graphic until it's amended to our November 7th meeting, made by Representative Adams and seconded by Representative Washington. Is there any discussion on the motion to postpone? All right, seeing none, all in favor of postponing the action on this poster till November 7th, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we will postpone that action. And I think we might as well just postpone the other part of it too, because perhaps the chair of that committee will be here, and that would probably help our deliberations. Representative Puccino?
Who, I guess it's the chair of that committee. I was just going to say, who would be in charge of changing the graphics?
Yeah, I think
I just answered my own question, didn't I?
that's good. Yes, I think that Representative Gauthier, Chair Gauthier will do that, and hopefully she can be at the meeting, because it's helpful to have that chair at the meetings when we're discussing actions that took place there. So thank you. Representative Richards?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would like to just comment on that other part.
Sure.
And say that I don't see any anything stipulating that it would be advertised to the town libraries. And I think we want to make sure that we're getting to people who are homeschooling and people who are in schools outside of Groton but are living in Groton. So I want to make sure that that would be stipulated. At least that would be my recommendation. And so I guess I can make maybe the motion to postpone that other part as well, so that we have that formally
put
in place.
We don't have that motion on the floor, but so we do have a motion to postpone consideration of the communication plan, I guess it's called, until the November meeting, made by Representative Richards. Is there a second?
Casaria seconds.
Any discussion? So I would just say for the town clerk, if the minutes could encapsulate some of Representative Richards' concerns and be conveyed to Chair Gauthier, maybe she can, or maybe they would need to have a committee meeting to address.
They might need it. They might need a committee meeting really to review everything, because there's quite a laundry list now. That's good. It's good. This is what it's for. You want to make it right. You don't want to have to redo it.
Right. Is there any other additional feedback from members of the body? And we can just kind of, it sounds like they're going to have another meeting to get these things ironed out. I would ask, if you look it over and you see problems, if you would attend that meeting when it's set, because you can express your opinions as ex officio members of that committee, and that would probably expedite the next meeting of the RTM. So Representative Richards, if you would be willing to attend the meeting and just kind of maybe relay some of those concerns, I think it would be helpful to their deliberations. Thank you. All right. So now we've come to the action items on the Finance Committee, I believe. I would just ask if we might take the school items first, just because we do have Superintendent Austin here. So Chair Washington, if you'd like to read your minutes, and then perhaps when we do the motions, we might be able to just address those two school-related motions. I think that might be helpful.
Okay, no problem. The Finance Committee met on October 7th, 2021 at 6:30. Chairperson Washington called the meeting to order. The meeting was held via Zoom. Roll call. In attendance were Representatives Casper, Flax, Chase, Katowski, Powers, and Washington. Also present were Moderator Eben, Town Manager John Burt, Director of Finance Cindy Landry, Director of Planning and Development Services Jonathan Reiner, Executive Director of the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments John Butler, Business Director for Groton Public Schools Kenneth Knight, Grants Coordinator for Groton Public Schools Shannon Weigel, and Superintendent of Groton Public Schools Susan Austin. Absent was Representative Foster. Unfinished business, none. New business, 4.1, 2021-585-3, SCCOG Navigator Position Funding Request. Representative Chase made a motion that the R.T.M Finance Committee recommends that the town of Groton approves 1% of its American Rescue Plan Act county funds totaling $56,364.06 to be paid in equal parts over 4 years, and that the totality of the $56,364.06 will be deposited in the town's ARPA fund, seconded by Representative Flax. Discussion. James Butler, Executive Director of Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, told the committee that his organization is asking all SCOG member municipalities for 1% of their county allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funding over a 4-year period, which is 0.25% per year, to support the creation of a recovery coordinator position at SCOG. The yearly amount will be $14,091.02. There are 22 municipalities. SCOG would like to fund a position dedicated specifically to assist the 22 municipalities in their efforts to identify eligible activities in the administration of these funds and with grant writing and financial tracking. Municipalities are encouraged to develop multi-town regional projects. This will require approximately $100,000 annually to fund salary, which is $70,000 plus benefits and other expenses associated with the work of the person in this position. This is a temporary position only for 4 years, which is the length of time municipalities have to expend ARPA funding. SCOG did not receive any ARPA funds, so asking the membership to help fund this position, which will help the region. The town council supports this request because it will help ensure other member municipalities are successful in using their ARPA funds. The town is also planning to hire a person to help navigate expending ARPA funds within the guidelines of the United States Department of Treasury. This person will provide oversight of these funds for the town. Vote to approve the motion. Representatives Washington, Flax, Powers, Chase, Casper, and I think that's it. And the Representative Katowski opposed. The next item, 4.2, 2021-675-2, extension of appropriation for Groton 2020 school facilities plan. Representative Chase made a motion that any portion of said appropriation which has not been expended or financed on the effective date of this resolution shall be extended and reappropriated, provided that the total amount expended or financed as of the effective date of this resolution pursuant to said appropriation under ordinance number 284 as amended by ordinance number 291, plus the portion which is reappropriated should not exceed $184,500,000 and refer to RTM 6.5.3. Seconded by Representative Flax. Discussion. Director Landry stated in 2016, Groton voters approved by referendum ordinance number 284, the Groton 2020 Facilities Plan, not to exceed $184.5 million. The ordinance was later amended by Ordinance 291 when the town made the change for the two elementary schools from renovate as new to build as new. Town of Groton Debt Policy and Management of Fiscal Practices states that any project, no matter the funding, not fully expended in 5-year lapses unless reappropriated. The bond will end on November 8, 2021, if not reappropriated. This is common in bonding projects. The last time we did this was in 2017 for road project. Typically, projects of this size are not completed in 5 years. We have 3 bond issued $58 million in bonds already for this project. Director Landry anticipates 2 more. Takes a long time to find out our final costs. We have to finalize our expenditures and get order from the state to know our final costs. If we do not extend this, no further expenditures or bonds can be sold to finalize this project. If we do not extend this, the rest of the money will have to come from general fund. We have received some reimbursement money from the state already, but not all. Debt policy says this will have to be extended for 5 years. Does not raise the dollar amount. Director Landry does not anticipate another 5 years. That is the way the debt policy reads, that you have to extend it for 5 years. Vote to approve motion passed unanimously. The next item was 4.3, 2021-679-2, American Rescue Plan Act near-term funding needs. Representative Flax made a motion that the town of Groton approves additional American Plan Rescue Act funding in the amount of $357,757 be set aside for the following uses. 1, town of Groton navigator position, $100,000. 2, human services needs, $150,000. Miscellaneous needs, $107,757. And be it further resolved that the town of Groton refers the American Rescue Plan Act near funding needs requests to the RTM via 6.5.3, seconded by Representative Chase. Discussion. Town Manager Burt led the discussion, stating that part of the purpose of the funds is to help people in need. He wants to have some flexibility in moving funds quickly if immediate needs arise. Some needs are needed more quickly than other needs. The town has already received 2 near-term fund requests, one from SCOG and the other from Ledgelight Health District. The cost of both of these is about $142,000. We need the navigator position quickly to review applications that will start coming in. Navigator's salary includes benefits. This is a temporary position lasting 3 to 4 years. Also, as the moratorium for evictions expires, the town wants to make sure there is money for that in the human services. Funds may also be needed for the business community. There will be oversight in the use of these funds to make sure they are being used appropriately. If the dollars are not needed in these line items, the money can go back into the pot. Near-term funding means it is a quicker way to get money sooner than later. Miscellaneous needs is like having fund balance. You identify the need when it occurs. Emergency uses, it just can't wait. This money will be under a microscope. You have to show proof of everything or pay it back if something is deemed ineligible. Every expenditure has to make sense and be judged individually. There are strict guidelines for spending these funds. Town staff will be vetting applications, as well as a committee set up by town council to review applications. Multiple step process to review applications. There was a question about how the town will solicit input from the community on how the funds should be spent. Town Manager Burke stated that on October 19th, there will be 2 public meetings, one in the daytime at Groton Municipal Building from 1 to 3, the other meeting in the evening at Groton Senior Center from 6:30 to 8:30. There will also be direct mailings to homes. Another idea is to set up booths in the library and senior center. Representative Katowski made a motion to move each individual expenditure separately, seconded by Representative Flax. Vote in favor of the motion were Representative Chase, Flax, Washington, and Katowski. Opposed were Representatives Casper and Powers. Motion passed. Representative Katowski made a motion to approve Town of Groton Navigator position for $100,000, seconded by Representative Flax. Vote to approve motion were Representative Powers, Chase, Casper, Washington, and Flax. Vote to impose the motion was Representative Katowski. Motion passed. Representative Katowski made a motion to move human services needs, $150,000, seconded by Representative Flax, passed unanimously. Representative Katowski made a motion to move miscellaneous needs, $107,757, seconded by Representative Powers. Vote in favor of the motion with Representatives Chase, Powers, Flax, and Casper. Opposed, Representative Katowski. Abstention, Representative Washington. Motion passed. The last item on the agenda was 4.4, 2021-707-2, Groton Public Schools DODEA grant. Representative Flax made a motion that the town council authorizes the superintendent of schools, Susan Austin, to accept the $750,000 DODEA MCASP 2021 Education Resource Grant in the amount of $750,000 and to execute any necessary paperwork to implement the grant and refer to the RTM 6.5.3, seconded by Representative Chase. Discussion. Superintendent Austin stated that this is the 5th ODEA grant that the Groton school system has received since 2014. It is a 5-year grant. Superintendent Austin is very excited about this grant because it is military connected academic and support programs resource grant. The title of the grant is Pathways to Success, Preparing Military Students in Careers in Health Science and STEM. This grant ties everything together. It gets students to think about how they can go to work in the future. GPS with Groton Public Schools will develop a K-12 career pathway program to improve student readiness for college and careers. All DODEA grants help all students. All Groton schools are filled with military students. This grant will help our students be workforce and career ready. The grant encourages interdisciplinary studies, especially in reading and writing. Grant is for students from K to 12th grades. Grant will provide professional development and externships for teachers, also internships for students. The grant connects with the manufacturing pipeline. Groton Public Schools has partnered with the Subbase, EB, Mystic Art Center, Pfizer, Mystic Seaport, and Project O. This grant does not require any continual obligation from the town. Like with any grant, a lot of attention to details. They will track students. Vote in favor of motion, passed unanimously. Representative Powers made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Representative Chase, passed unanimously. Meeting was adjourned at 8:33 p.m. Minutes respectfully submitted by Representative Washington.
Thank you for those extensive and detailed minutes. Is there a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve, Adams.
Second, Chase.
We have a motion to approve the Finance Committee minutes from their October 7th meeting, made by Representative Adams and seconded by Representative Chase. Is there any discussion of those minutes? All right, Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a couple of questions, if Mr. Burt is still here. So why would we spend $100,000 for a temporary employee when the job?
Hang on, Representative Chase, we're just discussing the minutes. We haven't made a motion to adopt any. Is that a substantive question that might follow up when we take each of those?
Okay, all right.
I'm just asking if it's a clarification of the minutes. That's all.
No, it is not.
Okay.
Well, sort of, but I have questions. I can wait.
Okay. Are there any questions or clarifications of the minutes? All right, seeing none, we have a motion on the floor made by Representative Adams, seconded by Representative Chase to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting of October 7th, 2021. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? No, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So then I was hoping that perhaps Chair Washington could put we could do the two education ones first. The
2020 school facilities plan project.
2021-675 and then 2021-707.
21-675. Which one is it?
The first one is the extension of appropriation for Groton 2020. Hopefully that'll get us off to a good start.
All right, okay, here we go. I'll read all the whereases and whatever, okay? Whereas the town of Groton approved ordinance 284 at referendum on November 8, 2016, which appropriated $184,500,000 and authorized borrowing in the same amount for the Groton 2020 School Facilities Plan project, and ordinance number 284 was amended by ordinance 291 at referendum on May 6, 2019. Whereas the debt policy and management fiscal practices of the town provide that any appropriation for construction or other permanent improvement which has not been completely expended at the end of 5 years from the date thereof should thereupon lapse. Whereas the town manager has reported that certain additional expenditures remain to be made or financed for the project that cannot be expended or financed by the end of 5 years from the effective date of the last appropriating ordinance, and has recommended that said appropriation be extended by reappropriating that portion which has not been expended or financed on the effective date of this resolution. Whereas the Director of Finance has certified that whatever portion of said appropriation is extended may be financed by grants and town general obligation bonds previously approved, whereas it is in the best interest of the town to complete the financing of the Groton 2020 School Facilities Plan project. Therefore be it resolved that any portion of the said appropriation which has not been expended or financed on the effective date of this resolution shall be extended and reappropriated, provided that the total amount expended or financed as of the effective date of this resolution pursuant to said appropriation under ordinance number 284 as amended by ordinance number 291, plus the portion which is reappropriated should not exceed $184,500,000. So moved.
Second, Portner.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to.
Has to be a roll call vote, Madam Moderator.
Sure. We have a roll call vote for the.
Of course you want it. you want to offer any discussion?
Yeah,
on
I
this?
was just opening it up for discussion. We have a motion on the floor for 2021-675, an extension of the appropriation for Groton 2020 school facilities plan. That motion was made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Fortner. Is there any discussion on that?
Yes, Madam Moderator.
Representative Jones.
I'm just looking at the email that came from Town Manager Burt, that this number should be 184,500,000.
That's what,
It should be
that's
edited.
what Representative Washington stated.
I think I heard you just say that without the 500,000.
No, she didn't. The minutes actually, you're correct. The original resolution did not have that. I should let Representative, I was at the meeting. There was a mistake that was made. In fact, the town council voted on the wrong number, but the RTM committee voted on the correct number because I believe it was Representative Chase remembered the correct number. So that was corrected at that meeting. And I'm pretty sure because I was listening that Representative Washington said the right number.
I just didn't want to make.
I did read the correct number, Representative Jones.
Okay,
And it's in the minutes. If you look at the minutes, the correct numbers are in the minutes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't make a mistake and leave it out. That's all.
No, we did not.
Okay.
That RTM Finance Committee is on top of it,
Great.
So there you
Okay,
go.
thank you.
Any other questions or clarifications, discussion? Seeing none, we have motion 2021-675, an extension of appropriation for Groton 2020 school facilities plan. That motion made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Fortner. And I believe we're going to have a roll call vote. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. Okay, everybody ready? Representative Adams, yes, no, or abstention?
Yes.
Okay. Bailey,
Yes.
Baker,
Baker,
I think she left. Burrell,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Kasseri,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Case,
Yes.
Rocket Hubbard, I think she left also. Okay. Dean Shinbrot,
Yes.
Fitzgerald, Fitzgerald's gone too. Looking at, boy. Flex,
Yes.
Fortner,
Yes.
Frickman,
Yes.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Kaneline,
Yes.
Hanscom,
Yes.
Combe,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Powers, Kristen,
Yes.
Powers, Sean,
Yes.
Pacino,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Jill, Representative Russ, Jill,
Yes.
Starkley,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
and Evan.
yes.
30 in favor. Did I miss anyone? I don't believe I missed anyone. We have a few people that left.
Did you see Representative Russ, Jason left?
Jason left at 8:10, yes, but I didn't see anybody else leave. We're supposed to say it in the chat, but. Nope. 30 in
Anyway.
favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Then we can go to 2021-707. The DODIA grant.
Okay. Resolution approving the Groton Public Schools DODIA grant. Whereas the Groton Public Schools were awarded $750,000, Department of Defense Education, Activity, Military Connected Academic and Support Programs, 2021 Education Resources Grant. And whereas the support from the DODIA Groton Public Schools will develop a K-12 career pathway program, including improving student readiness for college and careers. Now therefore be it resolved that the RTM authorizes the superintendent of schools, Susan Austin, to accept the $750,000 DODIA MCASP 2021 Education Resource Grant in the amount of $750,000 and to execute any necessary paperwork to implement the grant. So moved.
Second, Jacome.
All right. We have a motion for 2021-707 Groton Public Schools DODIA grant, accepting that, made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Jacome. Is there any discussion on that grant? I do see also that Representative Flax had to leave the meeting. But
Yes, I noted that at 9:49.
and I knew he wanted to actually recuse himself from some of these discussions because of his position. No discussion. So we do have a motion on the floor for Groton Public Schools DODIA grant, accepting it, made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Jacome. All in favor, please say aye. Guys. I guess we could go to the SCOG Navigator position request.
Okay.
Oh, I just want to thank Superintendent Austin for being with us so long.
I want to thank you too, and be happy to come back and tell you more about the success we've had with these grants and our student achievement. So I'd be happy to come back. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, resolution to approve the ARPA funds for Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, whereas the town of Groton is recipient of federal funds from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and whereas the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments made a request to all member municipalities for 1% of the county allocated funds received to be paid equally over a 4-year period, and whereas for the town of Groton, 1% of the ARPA county funds equals $56,364.06. And whereas the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Government will utilize these funds primarily to hire a recovery coordinator position to help its member municipalities with determining eligible uses of their ARPA funds and other assistance as necessary. And whereas the town council supports this request due to its regional nature to ensure all SCOG member municipalities are successful in utilizing their ARPA funds, now therefore be it resolved that the RTM approves 1% of its ARPA, that the town of Groton approves 1% of its American Rescue Plan Act county funds totaling $56,364.06 to be paid in equal parts over 4 years, and be it further resolved that the totality of the $56,364.06 will be deposited in the town's ARPA fund to be paid on an annual basis. So move. That's it.
Second, Portner.
So we have 2021-585, the SCOG Navigator position funding request made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Fortner. Is there a discussion on that? I see Representative Bailey's hand had been up, and because I missed it before. Representative Bailey, did you wish to speak?
Yes, please. I was just wondering, obviously, I guess we're going to go over these one at a time for this agenda for each item. Is that correct?
Well, this is just one item. So that's all we're going over. This is just a request from the SCOG for money. So it's only one thing. The next item will have individual things perhaps.
So we'll be discussing each item separately to vote on?
Yes, there were 4 items that the Finance Committee considered, and we've done 2 of them, and we'll do the other 2. This is the 3rd.
Okay.
Individually.
Thank you.
Okey doke. Representative Katowski? You're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Madam Moderator. Oh, it's really late and I have to get up at 5. At the meeting, when this item came up, I said to the town manager, I said, this seems like your rich uncle that just won the lottery and all the vultures are swirling around to try to get a piece of it. And he said that he gets calls every day from people that want a piece of that $8.2 million that Groton has. So I don't support this position. We give, between the town and city of Groton, we give SCOG $38,620. And it was stated at the meeting that Groton would not benefit from this position as much as the smaller towns, even though we're paying more money than probably every other town, maybe the same as Norwich. So I hope everyone will consider not supporting this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Rusk.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. If Mr. Burke's here, I would like him to talk about supporting this while also supporting the navigator position and what the differences would be. And can this position take the place of the navigator position? Thank you.
First, it absolutely cannot take the place of the town's navigator position without totally reworking how we're approaching the ARPA funds. The COGS, they have 22 member municipalities. I don't know how many are going to end up putting funding into this. My understanding is it's getting a pretty good reception, but I don't know what the numbers are. However, that's very little time to go around among a lot of municipalities. The federal funding that is ARPA has a lot of requirements, a ton of requirements. And if you get anything wrong, you have to pay it back. Including if a subrecipient, if one of the people you award money to gets something wrong, we pay it back. And that's going to take up most of their time. However, we're so much bigger than most of them, than the little municipalities involved with the COG, that it just isn't, we need someone full time, but the council felt it was worth funding to help out, is also be a sounding board for our position. Like I said, it's critical to make sure you get the expenditures right. And it's someone that our person can confer with. Additionally, this person, my understanding is, will be doing some, if there's time at all, we'll be doing some grant work. If they don't get enough support from municipalities, that would go first though. So I don't know if that will end up being the case, but it's a possibility of something that could be useful to us. But again, the council's thinking is rising tide floats all boats, and that things that are good for the region will be good for the town.
Thank you. Representative Rusk, are you done?
I am. I just wanted to thank Mr. Burt, but I also want to say that I'm going to abstain from voting from this just because of my work position. I don't want any conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fortner.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I watched the meeting that where this was discussed. It was on August 24th. And I just wanted to read the other representative, something that was said by the representative of SCOG. or SCOG, I guess. She said, "We acknowledge that the town of Groton has probably the best capacity of most of our towns. It is one of the leaders in terms of being able to administer this influx of funding and manage the federal documentation." I thought that was a tremendous pat on the back for our town manager, but also it made me think that we're doing a really good job. I certainly want to support SCOG, but I would like to amend the motion and propose a lower number of $20,000 over the course of 4 years to show that we support them. But just because they asked for 1%, we don't have to give them 1%. That was a number that they chose out of the sky. This money is for Groton, and I think our priority should be Groton. Therefore, I propose an amended number of $20,000 instead of the $56,000. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a second motion on the floor, amended motion on the floor for 20,000 over 4 years, made by Representative Fortner and seconded by Representative Katowski. Is there any discussion on that motion? Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So just a quick point of clarification. So this position is going to be managed by or appointed by SCOG or SCOG, not by us or not by the town of Groton, correct?
Correct.
Right. So we don't have any control over who it is that is selected.
Correct.
Especially because they have an executive director, just like town council doesn't hire someone that works for me, same type of thing. And it'd be pretty hard with 22 municipalities weighing in too. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as how would this position relate to the city and Groton Long Point as well? What are they doing in relation to this?
I'm not sure I'm not sure what the city's doing or Groton Long Point. Groton Long Point only has about 75,000. My understanding, they're just going to do a simple infrastructure project, and that's a big difference too. Or put it towards infrastructure. That's a big difference too. I don't know if everyone's watched kind of in the newspaper where some of the funding's going. Some places have chosen, okay, we're just going to do just a few big projects. That's it. And if you do that, that's much simpler than doing money for helping people, doing money for businesses, doing a variety of things. That's where it gets really complicated and much more difficult and much more need of staffing. And with the COG, they're trying to provide a service to their member municipalities to help with that. Again, it was hard enough with the CARES Act funding through the state funding to track. It's going to be much more difficult for the federal dollars. And so I do have the finance director here, by the way, in case there's any questions along those lines.
All right, thank you. And now in relation to the navigator position, now this would also be a SCOG appointed situation, or is the navigator under our umbrella?
Ours, that would be ours.
Okay. And their task, their mission would be to help people in the community navigate the application and the processing of the paperwork in order to get funds?
Yes, that would be part of it, as well as, of course, compiling all the documentation needed, is working with the applicants on their grant requests, if you want to say grant requests, making sure all documents are obtained from those sub-recipients, helping them in the first place fill it out. There are a variety of things involved in that. Coordinate with the finance department to make sure all documents are ready and available for the required reporting.
All right. And do you know if the city is doing any, do they have something parallel going on with the navigator idea or not?
I've not heard it, but I'm not sure.
If we had a navigator, would it be available to the city to use?
Potentially, depending on what they do too. I don't know if they've gotten to the point of, are they doing a few small, few big projects, or are they doing lots of, and I'm not sure if they've reached that point yet.
Is there any discussion of trying to do a joint venture? And if so, would they have any sort of buy-in as far as like helping support the
Part of the
position?
problem is if we keep the current process, it will take the whole time pretty much for us. You know, we can offer some advice, but it's not probably a split position.
Okay. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I could accept one or the other. I don't agree with the smaller amount. In their job description for the COG, for their new staff, it says provides oversight of eligible use of funds and is responsible for periodic reporting to the feds, basically. And you stated that they are not going to do this for us. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I don't understand why we need to pay for two people. We already pay them annual dues. They're not going to be doing anything for us with the ARPA money, as you stated. So I just don't understand why we need to fund two positions. It should be one or the other, and I'll talk about the 100,000 when we get to that. But I can't vote for this position since they aren't going to do anything for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bailey?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm in agreement with Representative Chase. Also kind of odd, and this might be something to think about, funding something several years in advance when most funding is performed on an annual basis. Does the town manager possibly have anything to say about preventing something from being overfunded for years in advance?
Well, I think part of the request for over the 4 years is you've got 22 municipalities with different, budget processes and cycles. So I think in order to, first of all, to attract a good person for that position, it needs to be secure funding. But also just the complicatedness of working with multiple municipalities.
But do you foresee any other type of funding from the ARPA that would be funded in many years in the future the same way?
Well, I mean, CIPs obviously, can last several years. So in a way, it's hard to predict what all we'll see until we actually go out and receive those applications.
Do you see possibly that this will be fixed in as possibly like a line item in the budget book for future annual budgets?
I'm sure we'll be accounting for ARPA dollars in our budget. Yes.
Have you perhaps thought about what line item you would put that under? Would it be like legislation or something?
Well,
like that?
all the ARPA dollars will be in one fund for easier tracking and for reporting purposes. There'll of course be different, fund, sub kind of, object codes under that. But it'll be all tracked independently in one fund. So you don't have to look through a budget book. Okay, here's a little bit here, here's a little bit there. That makes it, we found with the CARES dollars, with the state dollars, that was done more that way, where it was, that was more of a reimbursement basis for, funds expended. But even that, by going to different departments to track down what was, eligible, that was kind of a nightmare, even on a small scale. So we'll keep it in one fund.
Okay, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Jones?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. A question to Mr. Burt. So I'm just a little concerned, or just a question on this SCOG. We're talking about a 1%. Can you just talk a little bit about how this relates to what we're doing on Tuesday, where we're also meeting to sort of select where we want these funds to go? It seems like this group got in there first and has their 1%, and other places have theirs, and it seems like things are already starting to move, but we're also making choices of where this money is going. And I'm just sort of concerned about how many 1% are going to be peeled off, and will there be any percents left for us?
Well, and then and that was discussed both at the long-term recovery committee and the town council's COW. They're looking at 500,000 for these near-term uses out of the 8.6 million. Not to say there couldn't be something, somebody, let's say human services gets hit worse than we think, then, there could be, and that's part of what those unaccounted for dollars are, by the way, but there could be a need for more money. Let's say foreclosures go crazy. Well, it could be, a further need down the road, but that would be more of the long-term process, most likely. These are the near-term funding, which this is part of and which is coming up next is for further near-term funding are ones where, for instance, these towns can't engage in figure out their projects till this piece is put in place. So it has to be done first. It's a near term that way. It can't wait. Whereas if you do a CIP, it can certainly wait. But these positions are needed up front.
So
it doesn't do them much good to wait till later.
So the decisions and the choices that citizens and anybody who weighs in on Tuesday are about maybe a CIP for somewhere down the line. They decide they want a sidewalk or a building or something like that.
Much more broad than that, actually. These are just the near term. Like I said, only 500,000 for near term uses. The other remaining 8.1 is wide open. Of course, you have some main categories that the feds have, limit. There's some limits to what you can spend on. It has to be COVID related. Some impact from COVID. For instance, losing your job and or your business issues related to COVID, helping those things out. So there has to be some tie-in. You can do infrastructure, except for bridges. You can't do bridges. They especially there can be different levels of going through the feds to get permission too. But things like they have 3 categories that you can do right away, easier under infrastructure. You do sewer, water, and broadband. But then pretty much anywhere, and it's explicit, you can't do bridges, but pretty much anywhere where you can make the case for COVID related, you can do. So other than having some broad parameters, this first phase out of 2 for obtaining, there's going to be 2 rounds of getting public input. First phase is meant to not pigeonhole people. What's out there? What are the needs? What are you seeing? So we can cast a wide net. Now, once we have that wide net cast, it'll be, things will be condensed. Some things will be reviewed and just be obvious it can't be done legally. So you'll have some stuff weeded out, etc. You'll condense it into some main categories because you can't go back out with 200 different items to phase 2. There'll be some condensing of ideas because some things will fit into buckets, general buckets. Then you go that would have to get approved before that second phase goes on. Okay, the council weighs in and approves what those buckets are going to be. We go back out to phase 2, get further input, so people see as it's narrowing down, they get another shot at it to put their input in with it. So there's actually going to be a very robust process for seeing where to spend those dollars.
Do you feel confident that we're going to be able to manage all of this? Seems a lot of moving parts. And is this what the navigator position, the town navigator position, is that what that person will be doing, is unpacking all of this and trying to make some sense of it?
Exactly.
All right. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you, Mr. Burt.
Thank you. I guess I don't see any there. Representative Fortner did have her hand up for last.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to add anything else. I think everybody's going to make up their own. Everybody else can speak and make up their own minds. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Sorry if this seems like an elementary question, but I just want to kind of roll back for a second. Now, there's 2 different positions. There's the SCOG manager that's coming from SCOG, and then there's the town navigator. Is that correct?
Right. They're very similar. We each named, because we're independent, we named them different.
All right.
So theirs are a little different than ours because they might do some grant writing stuff.
Okay. Are we voting on them, these positions as a lump together? Or are we going to?
No, this is just for the
This is just for the what?
The council government's request.
For the manager, for the regional manager?
Right.
All right, so the town navigator position will come up to
Coming up.
vote later?
Later, right.
Yes, but you heard the motion that was made by Representative Washington. Look in your packet. There are 4 items. They're each being done separately.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification.
Representative Cassieri?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, what is your opinion on only giving them $20,000?
I'm more of a team player. There are some very small towns that, if not enough is raised, it's gonna be really hard for them to make the most of their money. And I do believe that working together is the best thing. It's not a lot of money, so I do support the request for the full amount.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jacome.
Mr. Burt, I know you said you're a team player. I was just interested to hear that. I think I heard at one of the council meetings that if they weren't to get any of the funding, that they would figure out something with an internal funding to make sure they have the funding for that. Is that correct?
Well, what they said is, let's say they don't get all 22 member municipalities, they have the cost for what the full position would be. And let's say they start missing out on funds, what they'll start doing is having to dial back and seeing what other funds they can try to squeak out in other places. But what they might have to do is reduce hours, not do any grant writing, eventually maybe even going down to, and the more you reduce it, the harder it is to draw a good person, good applicants for the position. So it's just kind of a whittling away of what they're trying to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more hands, we do have a motion on the floor made by Representative, it's an amended motion, made by Representative Fortner and seconded by Representative Katowski to appropriate $20,000 over 4 years of the ARPA money to the SCOG. I think we will probably need a roll call vote, Madam Clerk, if that's possible.
This is for $20,000. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Representative Adams, yes, no, or abstention? This is to fund $20,000. Is that correct, Madam Moderator?
Yes, this is the amended motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Bailey?
Yes.
Burrell?
Yes.
Casper?
No.
Cassieri?
No.
Chase?
No.
Dean Shinbrot?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
I think Fitzgerald may have left.
Okay. Thank you.
I think she left.
Thank you. Fortner?
Yes.
Frickman? I guess Frickman's gone too, sorry. Gustafson?
No.
Hainline?
No.
Hanscom?
No.
Jacome?
No.
Jones?
No.
Katowski?
Yes.
Powers Kristen?
No.
Powers Sean? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No.
Thank you. Pacino? I think he's gone. Okay. Ray?
No.
Richards?
No.
Jill, you're abstaining? Rusk?
Yes, I'm abstaining. Thank you.
Starkley?
No.
Stevenson?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Washington?
Yes.
Watson?
You may have left too.
Yeah, he did. Wells?
No.
Whitney?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes.
Okay, that's 9 in favor, 16 opposed, and 1 abstention.
That
Fails.
motion fails. Thank you. So we'll go to the original motion, which is 1% of the county allocation over 4 years. I don't have the exact number. Let me just,
$66,364.06 over
okay,
4 years.
over 4 years. And that motion was made by Representative Washington and seconded by Representative Jacome.
Do you need a roll call, or do you think?
Yeah,
you've
I
got-
think we'll need a roll call vote.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. Okay, that's okay. Yes, no, and abstention. Adams,
No.
Bailey,
No.
Burrell,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Cassieri,
Yes.
Chase,
No.
Dean Chinbrot,
No.
Fitzgerald, oops, sorry. Fortner,
No.
Gustafson,
Yes.
Kaneline,
Yes.
Hanscom,
Yes.
Jacome,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Katowski,
No.
Kristen Powers,
Yes.
Sean Powers,
Yes.
Richards, oops, excuse me, Ray,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Rusk, you're going to abstain?
Abstain.
Starkly,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Washington,
Abstain.
Wells,
Yes.
Whitney,
Yes.
Eben,
And you say no.
I'm sorry, Eben?
No, no.
Okay.
So that motion-
17 yes, 7 no, and 2 abstentions. Passes.
That
So you-
motion passes. Thank you, guys. So the next motion, Chair Washington, would you like to put that on?
Okay. I make a motion that the town of Groton approves additional American Rescue Plan Act funding in the amount of $357,757. We set aside for the following uses. Town of Groton Navigator position, $100,000. So moved.
All right, so we're going to do these separately. And I don't hear, second?
Second, Powers.
Thank you.
Do you want this, do you want these, continue with the, roll call? Sorry. Whew.
Yeah, I think we will, but
Can we
let's
have a discussion?
Do we
Yes,
have any
exactly.
discussion on
I'm
it?
just opening it up for discussion right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to get
for
ready.
everyone. So this is account 2021-679, the American Rescue Plan Act. And this is for $100,000 for the navigator position. That motion was made by Representative Washington, seconded by Representative Sean Powers, and we can have discussion on this. And it is getting late, so just everyone bear with me. It's Representative Jacome.
Yeah, this question for Mr. Burt. Does this include benefits or any of that sort?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's it.
And to mention this is intended to be a temporary position for approximately 4 years. This is not intended to be an ongoing position.
Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm sure this is going to pass, so I'm going to ask the question that was, it was brought up in the committee that this position will be housed in the planning and zoning office. Is that correct?
Correct. We had an internal meeting with finance and others to just see where the bulk of the work was needed, and it was needed in the planning department.
Well, since it's whatever $1 million, 8.1, $8.2 million. I believe I handle ARPA money in my office, and I believe it belongs in finance. And I think that's where it should go. I mean, that's a lot of money for planning and zoning to keep track of when they have other things to do.
Mr. Burt, did you want to comment on why it didn't go into finance?
Well, again, we met between finance and planning to discuss what was being done, what was needed, and came to a consensus that it was the bulk of the work would be, and some of that same work could have happened in finance, but instead it's happening in planning, along with helping the applicants and that type of thing. And they wanted to make it more one-stop shop, I would say.
So everyone will apply to planning and zoning for this money?
Yes. I mean, well, that's likely who would take the applications. They won't be the one, it'll be a broad, diverse group that reviews them. But yes, they would help guide on how to fill things out and then track the expenditures. And then I do have John Reiner here from planning, if he has anything to weigh in on it, as well as Cindy Landry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say a few quick things. So John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. So this position will be housed within the Department of Planning and Development Services, specifically in our Economic and Community Development Division. This position will serve in a similar role in how we often process our community development block grant funds. And this position will not only be doing, say, the financial reporting of it, which will be running things through finance, but also there's a lot of that outreach, that coordination, processing of all the applications that coming in. So those will all be coming into the department. Then we'll be working with the Long-Term Recovery Committee, the Town Council, the RTM, and again, helping to facilitate all of that outreach that we need to do as part of this process.
Has any of this money gone out the door yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, they have not. We still have a lot to do before it can go out the door.
Okay. Now, how is it possible to get a monthly accounting of how this money is spent, where it's being spent, to the body here?
I don't see. Cindy, do you see any issue with that? Not much will be spent until we actually go through the application process.
Right.
But I don't see why report. Yeah, I don't see why a report couldn't be run monthly. Cindy, do you see any issue with that?
No, and I agree that we have a lot of work to do before the first dollar leaves the town of Groton. Particularly with the subrecipients, we need to be very careful that they are aware of the requirements that they're going to have to do to provide us the information that we need for reporting. Representative Chase, if you're familiar with the ARPA, you know what is going to be required with the reporting. So we do have a ways to go before we will be releasing any money. But I don't see a problem with doing accounting. As I said, as the town manager said, we plan to keep this in one fund. We had a learning curve with both using FEMA dollars and the CARES dollars when they were among various departments. So we will keep this in one fund so we have it all in a nice, neat little package, and it'll be much easier to track the funding and to run reports and identify where the money is being spent.
Thank you. And one other thing I had to ask. Sorry, I lost it. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Jean Shinbrat.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mrs. Landry, you will have a hand in helping to track this money? I'm a believer that it should all be under finance.
No, absolutely. I will be involved in it, but with the position, as Director Reiner said, his department is more adept and more familiar with doing the business outreach or the application taking than finances because of their community development program. But we will be most definitely involved in the expenditure side of it and to ensure that the funding is spent on eligible purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing just add on to that about eligible purposes. One of the things we are going to put in place before we allow any dollars to go out is we will have a contractual agreement with any recipients that state the requirements and that they'll pay back if they don't follow the requirements. So we're going to be very tough with this.
Thank you, Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I agree with Representative Chase and Representative Dean Shinbrod. I believe that there is maybe a hybrid model that we should be looking at as far as like having the main source of the funding coming through the finance department and then being doled out to the planning, economic and development upon request, upon what is in their purview to handle. But having the main tracking and the main spigot of release coming from the finance department. And also, as with the manager position, I think it would be great to get the city on record as far as what they are able to contribute to the cause. Since it's a shared resource, it should be a shared expenditure. So,
Yeah. Can you shut up that air, mister in your room when you got up? Okay. Dr. Reese still is.
So, I mean, that's pretty much my point. As far as that goes, I think the should be working closely together in coordination, and I think the finance department should be the main point of contact and the main point of responsibility for doling out the funds. Thank you.
Now, I think really in terms of doling out, it really is the finance. It's tracking by the planning, but they'll submit the required documents to finance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy. And then it's the finance department that will be releasing funds and doing that as needs come up. So they will be the. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. The funds will actually be, any funds that are dispersed would come through the finance department. But when we had the discussions about this position, and I think someone, either John Bird or John Reiner had mentioned, to have continuity with the people, with the public, with the business owners, rather than having someone that's going to help them out with their applications that we talk to determine what the needs are of the people in the town of Groton, and to have that same person that they'll be dealing with when the time comes to substantiate what they've spent the money on, rather than having someone that's an unknown to come and now start, going down the trail of, okay, well, you need to provide me this, and this to show us what you spent the money on. We thought to have that a continuity of a single person, but I do want to make sure that everyone understands that the actual payment, the funds came to the finance department, and we created the account that they're in. We created the fund, and any money dispersed would most definitely come from the finance department and would go through all of our approval process for any other payment that leaves the town of Groton.
Thank you. And as far as the city goes, what's the situation there? I mean, I'm not quite clear. Have they committed to helping support these positions or not?
Well, I don't know if maybe Councilor Russ can answer whether they've actually discussed the COG position. I know they received the request. I don't know what they've done with it. However, just keep in mind, this one is not a shared resource per se. We'll help them out where possible, but it's not going to be something where, we're co-funding it or anything like that, because we do have need for the full position. And just a reminder too, the job description has already been approved by the town council. This is really on whether to fund or not. If we get into it and we think, oh, really, this should be more finance, we could always shift gears and update that job description. But this is really just, do we want to really proceed with an overall process we've laid out?
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just my thought that, the folks in the city are going to benefit from this program in some form or fashion. So, I think it would be good to have the city kind of, acting in concert with whatever we're doing.
Right. And that is why we're holding the joint meeting for input, and that wherever possible, we are trying to work together. It's just, they also have somewhere, I think it's in the ballpark of, is it 2.5, 2.7 million, something like that. But that adds a lot more burden on too. So, and I don't know what their staffing situation is, but we'll have plenty to do with ours, with the way we're looking at spending our dollars with many grant applicants likely. But wherever possible, my guarantee, Mayor Hedrick and I are talking about it, and we are going to coordinate wherever possible.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to, hopefully that is formalized, more formalized than it is casual. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Katowski.
Thank you. I do not support this position at all. I believe we have enough staff. But if the RTM supports it, the position must be in the finance department, not planning. First, there are 25 full-time land use employees in the town of Groton, including the town, the city, Groton, Long Point, Noank, and That's 25 full-time employees for about 38,000 people. That's a lot of staff. Also, after the mess that the planning department got the town of Groton into with the Mystic Oral School mega development disaster, I have zero confidence that they should be overseeing $8.2 million. Remember that the planning department botched the Mystic Oral School to the point that the town of Groton is in mitigation, and everyone knows we are in for years of litigation. This position must be in the finance.
Yeah, the Mystic is not part of this conversation.
I know, but how can we trust these people?
Excuse me, Mr. Burke, this is my meeting.
I would appreciate.
How can we trust these people? We're talking about money. We're talking about $8.2 million. And I would feel much more comfortable if this position that was overseeing these funds was in the finance department. And I know a lot of other people would as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Whitney.
Thank you. I also would feel much more comfortable. I think it makes a lot more sense to have the position in the finance department. I do support the position. I just think the finance department, of course, has a long track record of transparency. And I think that oversight angle that would come from the finance department's perspective would actually protect the town interests more. If something goes wrong, making sure things are spent correctly. I'd like to see the emphasis there rather than on the easiest access to fund. There's always a trade-off there, but I think it's RTM. We should be looking out for the town's interests.
Excuse me, Madam Moderator. I just have to come in here and explain. Town charter specifically says that the RTM may not direct the town manager on employees. So that's town council's bailiwick, not RTM. You can fund it, but you can't tell where to spend it.
And
as far as an employee.
And just to point out, Cindy Landry is the expert in the department and agrees it should be with the planning department for what we're looking at for the needs. And we do have to trust her judgment on that as well.
Thank you. Representative Bailey.
Thank you very much. I heard that, I think it was Representative Chase that was possibly requesting a monthly report. And I was thinking at that point, it might be advisable, I don't know how to do it, but if it could be added into the agenda under section F for the RTM for the monthly report of the manager. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. It would probably be a more in-depth part, but yes, as part of my monthly report.
Okay, and to the moderator, is there anything that we have to do to fulfill any kind of type of action on
No,
it?
I think we're fine. We can add things to the agenda.
Okay.
And I think the town clerk is here. So when that report starts to be generated, I don't imagine it's going to be right away, but perhaps in early next year, we can start having an F.3 or whatever it will be.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Representative Jones.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A question for the town manager. You had sent out an email with an ARPA process PDF that just sort of gave us a quick overview of the process with the four different areas that the four categories. Is there a more extensive sort of manual that you're using that just sort of guides people through if we wanted to know what are some of the details and what it is you're going to actually, and your staff is going to actually have to do, and people who receive these funds? Is it on the website, or how are you getting the information to figure out what you're going to be doing?
Well, part of that is until, is collecting the input from everyone. We know what the job will be doing, and that's in the job description, which, did I send that out? There's a job description already approved for this position. So it's already laid out what they would do. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Repeat your.
Yeah, no, are they following, is there from the federal government, like a manual that says what
sure.
you can do and what you can't do? And you
there's definite rules on that, though. There's definite rules. However, a lot of it's vague too. That's why it's so intensive too, is it's Cindy, weigh in if you have a difference of opinion. My understanding is it's going to be hard to pin down some of the things to make sure that we can spend it. But yes, there's a guiding document from I think it's still in draft mode. Is that right?
That's
I
true.
think they're still waiting to put out the final product. The draft mode was, how long was that? It's a pretty long document.
Oh, yes, it was a huge document.
And then, of course, we'll have an application process that Moderator Eben is kind enough to be working with our staff on creating. We'll have that, it'll be a lot of paperwork involved. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's great. I'd just be interested just to see what how this sort of works out. And, are we going to be, people going to be asking us or businesses asking us to help navigate this process? It just seems like whoever's going to manage this is going to be pretty complicated. So.
Thank you. Representative Washington.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Moderator. With the town clerk that we cannot tell town manager who to hire and so on. I have to say, I would feel more comfortable if this money was in the hands of the finance department also, and not in the hands of the economic development department. That's all I want to say. I got kicked off, so I just got back on, so I don't really know where you are.
No, Representative Washington, you're breaking up a little. Did you say you wanted it in economic development or finance? I couldn't quite hear you.
Finance. I just feel more comfortable. It's money, so I think Cindy should be overseeing the money aspect. That's her field, and I think that's what she should be doing.
Right.
But that's just my opinion.
And you may, I don't know if you heard the part, but all the dollars do go into her department, and she has to release all the dollars and do any expense. Planning department will not have the ability to release any dollars. It'll be required. They'll simply, basically, they're gathering information to give to finance so that they can review it then also and issue any checks or whatever else is going out. So it essentially, in terms of what most people are talking about, it is going to be, that part will be on finance.
Okay, thank you, John. I got kicked off for a while, so I missed some of the discussion.
Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think it seems like we have some pretty clear opinions about where this money should go. Is it possible that we can make a motion to
recording stopped,
send this back to
recording in progress,
the council to make an amendment and come back to us, or how does that work exactly?
I would ask the town clerk. So repeat what you're asking.
What are you proposing?
I'm proposing that this goes back to town council since they're the ones that approved it. We're just approving the money. And it sounds like right now there might be not enough votes as it is if it's in the economic development department. I would recommend it go back to council for them to amend what they did and put it in the finance department. It just seems to be that there's a lot of people who are of the opinion it shouldn't go where it's going right now. And while we can't dictate the town manager as RTM, we do have the power of the vote to finance it. And so I know I wouldn't support currently it going to that to particular department, even if the money is still going through finance as it is. I think a lot of people are in agreement that the money should go to finance then. And so I just think it should go back to the council and see if they will amend it to come back to us in the finance. And then it sounds like we would like to approve the money, just not as it is now. Thank you.
Well, according to, I can explain, according to the charter for the RTM to, you could by a majority vote of the membership, so that would be 21 people, amend this resolution and send it back to the council for approval. That, I hate using the word, but it is called power of initiative, but it is legal. I disagree with the town attorney saying you can't do it. You absolutely can. And I'll get outside town attorney opinion, if you don't believe me. It is a way of the RTM to control what the legislation that's in this town. And that's what this body is supposed to be doing in addition to the money. So yes, the answer to your question is you could vote by majority of the membership, that's 21 in favor, to amend this motion and send it back to the council.
Well, the motion's really just for the funding, not for where it's located. And in terms of dictating where it's located at, that would be against the charter.
Right,
Does not go against the charter.
But
I would ask that the council.
I'm not
Can I finish
saying.
my sentence? Yeah, I'm just asking, can we look, I'd appreciate a vote on it. And then if approved, then separately a request to the council to reconsider where it's located, though knowing that I also have to sign off on where it's located, not just the council.
I understand, and I'm not trying to. I'm trying to find a happy way to do this all while being relatively within how everyone wants this to be done. So, I understand the requirements, and I'm just wondering if we have we can vote to send this back to council, regardless of the issues of where the funding is coming from. Right? In theory, we could send it back to council. Isn't that something we could do?
Yes, it will set back we won't, in terms of application process and everything else, it'll set it back at least a month, if not 2.
Well, as some people have voiced this body, I don't think anyone's concerned with the time frame. I think people are more concerned about how it looks and where the money is going. I mean, I don't want to make too fine a point of it, but it's not every day that me and Rosanna agree on something. So, excuse me, Representative Katowski. So, that's all.
Just to make the case one more time, a delay of 2 months. These funding is all about helping the people, and a 2-month delay over where a position is located to me is not a good trade-off for the public good. And again, the council can't on their own dictate where the position would be either. If the R.T.M votes no, this really goes all the way back to, for more discussion, probably at the long-term recovery committee. It could be more than 2 months, but I'm requesting people to support it just so we can get on with the process of getting money out where it should go. I have every faith in our staff, and the council did too, to do their parts on this. And I request at least a vote to see where you come out at on it.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator, I have a question, if I could be next, and it might help.
I was going to everyone has spoken already once, including you, Representative Chase.
Yep.
And I'm happy to cede you the floor, but I just want to find out if there are any RTM members who haven't spoken yet. Oh, I see Representative Hanscom. So I'd like to take some representatives who haven't spoken yet first. Representative Hanscom?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I get, the concern that's being raised, but I really think does it really matter like what department they're in? I would imagine this person is going to be working with, with finance, I do similar work, and I think that it really doesn't, in some ways doesn't matter. So part of me is I'll support it as it is. And I think we should just move it forward so that we don't hold up any funds for any of the people in the town or anyone else. So.
Thank you. Representative Gustafson?
Yeah, I just want to say I trust the judgment of the town manager and the finance director. Can we make a motion to move the question?
Second.
And that was Jacome as a second?
Correct.
Okay, and that is not debatable, and it's a 2/3 majority. And then as per our rules, I will allow the folks who have their hand, I'm sorry, I have to refer to my rules, but I will while we're having the roll call vote. So that's a 2/3 vote, and I would ask for roll call, please.
2/3 will take 20. We have 30 people here. 2/3 would be 20
Did you see
Affirmative.
that Representative Richards left?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Adams?
He left also.
Okay, thank you. Bailey?
No.
Baker? Whoops, Baker's gone. Burrell? Gone? Yes, yes, okay. Casper?
Yes.
Terry?
No.
Chase?
No.
Fortner?
Yes, times 71, please.
Frickman? Ooh, we might have left. Frickman, one more time. Okay. Gustafson?
Yes.
Hainline?
Yes.
Hanscom?
Yes.
Jacome?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Katowski?
No.
Kristen Powers?
She went to bed, Betsy.
Okay, all right. Sean Powers? Sean Powers?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Richards? Oh, she left. Jill Rusk?
Yes.
Starkley?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Thomas?
No.
Washington?
No.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitney?
No.
Eben?
Yes.
Okay. I have 15 in favor. Who did I
Madam-
miss? Who did I miss?
Betsy, Sue Dean Shinbrut.
Oh, Dean Shindrat. How do you
Yeah.
vote?
No.
No. Okay, that's 8. 8, no. Did I miss anyone else? Sorry, I thought you were gone. Anyone else that I missed? It's hard to see. Okay, so I have 8 opposed, 15 in favor. How did we go from 30? We don't have 30, that's why.
No. Yeah.
We have 23, 23, and so it would take 16 in favor. It didn't pass. Sorry.
I thought it was 7. Are you sure it was 8?
No, it's 8 because that's Dean Chinrot.
Yeah, I had 8 too.
Right now,
Thank
Betsy.
you.
She'll vote yes.
What's that?
I'll get Kristen up and she'll vote yes. Okay. I will. I'm dead serious. Just wait.
Yes.
Computer upstairs. I will. Trust me.
The vote is done.
We're finished. You can't do it. It failed. So it's all right. He was going to let the people that didn't speak anyway.
Good. I'm gonna.
Was. So now I'm still looking for folks who have not spoken yet. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. I have to get up early too, and I have to teach tomorrow morning. So I think Representative Rusk has not spoken yet on this issue.
I think I'm going to argue what everybody is saying. It is 11 o'clock at night. We are quickly losing a quorum. We need to vote on this. We need to stop arguing about where placement is. It's not our place to say it should be in finance when finance is saying it should be in planning and zoning. I'm sorry, I'm frustrated, but it is 11 o'clock at night. We have not voted on this. Let's vote and be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Powers, Kristen.
Yeah, I can't get back on the meeting. Somehow I'm off the meeting and I can't get there. I can't even mute myself, Sima, at the moment.
Okay. All right.
So if you can listen to what I have to say if you'd like, and then I got to figure out how to get off of the screen here. I do agree with Joe Russ. I went through this with the finance committee, and I think Kathy Chase knows what we talked about when it comes to where the money goes and how it's delegated out. The process is it's just an extreme process to get the grants. The reason they put it in economic and community development was because that was the best department to know where the money was going. It still goes through Cindy's office, okay, in order for any of the money to be released. We're sitting here talking about, well, we're going to bring everything to Cindy's office, to finance, when they're going to have to go back to economic and community development, and they're going to have to go through Reiner and everybody else to figure out whether these people deserve the money or they don't deserve the money. And then we have to have John look at it to make sure we're not screwing anything up. Okay? Because if we don't, we're going to end up having to pay back the money. Just the hoops you got to jump through to get the money is insane. Okay? And that in itself, we should let Cindy do her job and let the economic and community development people do their job. Okay? Because if Bruce Flax was here, he'd tell you all about the Chamber of Commerce and what you have to do in order to do things in business. That's my point, and I think it's in the right department, and that's the way I would vote.
Thank you. Representative Casper?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will echo the previous speakers in that, you know, when we're through reorganizing our government, we can get down and vote on this position. It seems like it's been decided that that person will reside in the planning and zoning, and that the finance is going to be tracking the money. They'll be tracking the money, but finance will be aware of where it's going. And I don't think we should be reorganizing our government. I think we should just go, not our government, our town. I think we should just vote on the position and get on with our business.
Thank you. Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. First of all, I brought up the subject of having it go to finance as a suggestion. I said, I think it belongs in finance. Cindy Landry and John Burt explained why it should not be there. I'm fine with it. And I'm thinking, if Cindy's still here, if she could explain the flow and maybe people will understand how this is going to work. First of all, John Burt, if you could tell us who is the committee going to be made up of staff or citizens?
It's going to be a comment. I mean, it's not been, the town council will decide that ultimately.
Okay.
It's been talked about being a very broad group, well, I guess there's a couple options. One, I imagine most of the long-term recovery committee people will be involved, though there could be a different application review group and then the LTRC and then COW, but we'll see, council. But it's expected to be very broad.
Okay.
It's not going to be just town staff.
All right, and I hope you understand I was just making a suggestion. It was because I work in this kind of business. So Cindy, if you could explain how the flow is going to work so everybody will be at ease as to that this money, there, like John said, you cannot spend this money on parties or whatever. This is federal money that you have to account for every dime and penny. So if you can explain the flow of how you have it set up with the planning and zoning and your department and things like that, maybe it'll help people understand that.
Okay, we're still, fine tuning everything that's going to happen. The way that I envision it is the planning and zoning department, the economic development is the ones, once we finalize the application, they are going to be the ones where the applications will be submitted there, just like they are for our community development, CDBG grant loans. And then we will have the committee, which is yet to be determined, will go through and we will decide those that are, number one, first off, meets eligible expenses. And then we will determine where the money's going to go, who we're going to award it to. And then all of that will come to finance in order to disperse the money. But we will be a part of that of the review of the applications and the final determination, because believe me, I don't want the town to be on the hook for something that's not eligible. That's just a fear of mine. I want to make sure that we are doing everything exactly above board, and there's never going to be any question that we have spent ARPA money for something that is not eligible. So even though this position may be in that department in the very beginning, because they're going to be taking the applications and doing that weeding out and doing the business outreach to get to the people and doing the surveys and talking to find out what our needs are in the town of Groton. Ultimately, it is going to be finance that's going to sign off on that will say, yep, I agree, this meets all the federal guidelines for spending this money.
Just a note too, once whatever committee is formed to do the full, there'll be staff review in terms of legality and that type of thing. But once the actual committee that does a review makes recommendations on projects, proposals, I don't want to say project, it's not just CIPs, whatever comes forward, it also has to go through the town council and it will have to come to the RTM in some format too. There's gonna be a lot of stages to it. And mentioning all those stages is also goes back to why we need some near-term funding, is because otherwise it's a several month process at least. But it's going to be very robust and lots of people will be able to weigh in before anything can be spent on anything.
Thank you. And Cindy, your current staff has no time for this reporting or allocating of these funds.
No, we did discuss that, and actually John and I had a long discussion about it. And I had said that the amount of time that's going to take to get ready to actually file your reports, but all of the backup and the documentation and the checking, I just don't have the staff to have that level of work that I believe it's going to require. And again, I want to make sure that we do everything, that the town is in a good place, and we have done everything that is required for the ARPA money.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you, Madam Moderator, for allowing me to speak again. I just wanted to clear some things up. Thank you.
Representative Whitney.
Thank you. Hearing the finance director speak is exactly why I really want to see the position supervised by the finance director. And I'm comfortable with that. I'm uncomfortable with it being in planning. And I suggest anyone else that feels that way should vote no to this. But if it does stay in planning, my question is, will the finance director and department have fine-grained oversight of all the expenses? Like, for instance, any project would have like consultant fees and surveying and things like that. How fine-grained detail oversight does the finance director have? It sounds like the staff wouldn't be there for that. And that's why I think that this position should be added in that department. Thank you.
Well, I would think that first off, any consulting fees or surveys, it all has to be eligible. It has to be part of one of those categories. I mean, as big a document as the interim guidance is, there are sections of it that is pretty clear. I think there's 4 main guidelines of what this money can be used for. So I do think that finance would be involved in that. And believe me, if it's something that I don't think is eligible, it's going to take a lot of convincing for me to change my mind, because I want to make sure that the town is not held liable for something that the dollar should not have been spent on.
Thank you. I think we're at the end of our questions, and I think we're going to need a roll call vote because we're right at quorum. We're just about to lose it.
We're at 21 right now, so let's get moving here. Okay, so this is for a $100,000 position, correct? For over
Yes,
5 years?
You're making me think about motions.
Yeah.
This motion was made by Washington, and I want to say
It's only for 1 year, right?
Powers, sorry, Washington and Powers, and this is for 2021-679 American Rescue Plan near-term funding needs.
Okay, here we go.
57,000, but this is only for 100,000 for the navigator position.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're going to do a roll call vote.
Okay, Adams? Sorry, she's gone. Oh, boy. Okay. Bailey?
Yes.
Point of order, do we have quorum?
Yes, we do.
And can someone
21
explain
people.
again what we are voting on? I'm a little bit confused.
This is $100,000 for the navigator position from
Is
the
that
ARPA funding. This
Is that
is
the original ask? That was the original.
This is the original ask is an aggregate ask for $357,757.
Here we are at the end.
Broken down into three parts. And the first part is 100,000 for a navigator position. And we're breaking them out because Representative Washington, this is how they did at finance, and this is the motion she made.
Right, okay, so we got Representative Burrell.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Bailey, did you say yes?
Yes.
Representative Bailey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Casper?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Dean Chinbrat?
Yes.
I was just to find everybody. Frickman? Left. Okay. Hanscom?
Yes.
Jacome?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Katowski?
No.
Sean Powers?
Yes.
Bill Rusk?
Yes.
Starkley?
Yes.
Stevenson?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Washington?
Yeah.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitney?
No.
Eben?
Yes.
You missed Gustafson. I'm a yes.
Sorry,
Miss
so sorry.
Hainline, I'm a yes.
I'm sorry.
Hainline, I'm a yes.
Oh, I thought you left. Okay, okay, wait a minute. 16, and then Hainline is 17. Okay. Oh, we're still where we were.
That's
17.
good, 'cause we didn't have a quorum a second ago.
I know. I was afraid of it. It's come. I mean, Hainline 17. Okay, 17 yes, 4 no.
So that motion passes. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Chair Washington, would you like to continue with the next motion? Chair Washington? Maybe she stepped away.
I don't see her.
She got booted off before, so maybe she was.
Yeah. Okay. There she is. There she is.
I see her, but I don't hear her.
Is it appropriate for somebody else to move the motion?
Yes.
Sure. Anyone who
Okay,
wants.
I'm going to move that we fund the human services at $150,000.
Second.
Gustafson.
Gustafson, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. It's for the same 2021-679 ARPA plan, Act near-term funding needs. And this is for $150,000 for human services. Short-term needs. And is there any discussion on this? All right. Seeing none. Oh, I see one. Representative Chase.
Sorry, thank you. Just one really quick question. Cindy, we're allocating 150,000 to them, but it doesn't mean they may use it all, correct?
That's correct. We're just setting aside in a bucket, so to speak.
Right.
For their needs.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, this is for short-term needs. It's for things that are deemed urgent. We wanted to have a way to address really urgent COVID-related issues at the kind of local community individual level. I was part of setting this number based on some input that Director Fondulis had. Can we say all in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion passes amazingly by consensus. So the next one, Representative Rusk, if you want to be on a roll, you could do the next one.
Sure. I move that we move the amount of $107,757 in miscellaneous needs for ARPA funds.
Second, Powers.
Thank you. So this is this motion 2021-679 American Rescue Plan Act near-term funding needs for in the amount of $107,757 for miscellaneous needs made by Representative Russ, seconded by Representative Powers. Is there discussion on this? I see Representative Kukowski.
Make sure we have a quorum.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Again, I am very concerned about this. I am very concerned about the idea that the planning department has $107,000 to at their discretion. I'm a little concerned about this whole notion of making sure that things that are right under $10,000, so they don't go to the RTM and avoid the scrutiny of the charter language for the for expenditures, like what happened with the beautification committee. So unless this is more clearly defined as to exactly what it is that they're going to be spending money on, I don't think anybody should support this. It almost sounds like a slush fund. And I'm sorry, but I don't trust this. And I hope you'll consider that position. Thank you.
Madam Moderator, can I just clarify a little bit?
Please, sure.
This is really unassigned is really more like it, not miscellaneous, really. It's really just unassigned. What would happen is, let's say we get hit by more foreclosures than we already budget for the 150,000. This allows for the town council to move more money over to whatever purpose like that comes up. It has to be approved by the town council. Marge Fondulis can make the request, and then the town council, directly to the town council, well, to the probably long-term.
But Marge Fondulis just got $150,000.
This is in case it goes worse than, we don't know what's going to happen with foreclosures and other things. The other thing is, as we're seeking input from the public, we just had our business forum. Let's say something comes up as an urgent need for business. Well, rather than going through a 3, 4, 5 month process, it could go through a 1 to 2 month process to be assigned.
Okay.
Can I just ask, Mr. Burt, is that money that Marge has and this money going through the same type of application process and review?
Well, it wouldn't be through an outside application process because it's the near-term funding. It sits there ready in case the near-term funding item comes up for the count, like Marge's type of thing, and the council could tap into that. And then if it's not spent, it just goes back into the larger dollars eventually of the larger 8.1 million or 1 million remaining.
That's Madam Clerk.
Sorry, we don't have a quorum any longer.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's too bad. That's too bad. I really, yeah, one little tiny piece.
Yeah, I have one other question I just want to ask since we're here, and even if we can't act on it, which is, you just mentioned foreclosures, and this has me disturbed because, I think that there's, I want to make sure that, and I've mentioned this before in the meeting, but, there's no guarantee that if you give someone short-term money to forestall a foreclosure, that they won't eventually be foreclosed upon by a bank.
Right.
And so you're really just giving money to a bank. And I really don't think, given the programs that are out there, that the town should be in the business of duplicating federal and state programs that exist to help people. I strongly believe that we should help our community members. So that's not what I'm saying, but I do think that, I just wanted to get a sense of the oversight that Representative Kwiatkowski was bringing up that will be given towards this money. And to my mind, foreclosures, you need to have some kind of future casting because it's not just a an application of a situation. You're going to need to track them for years. Otherwise our money is going to be in the bank. It's going to be literally the profit of a bank.
I totally agree.
I'm trying to count. I think we only have 20 though.
So Mr. Burke, could you respond to that?
I was just saying that I totally agree. And we did discuss that at the long-term recovery committee. And I absolutely, I think we all agree with you. And making sure, that on every point you said, I agree with.
So
I think we have 20. I think you're correct.
Yeah, it's 20, but half of 41, but we have a vacancy. I hate, but I don't want to push it, I don't want to vote on something without 21. I just feel funny.
22.
Be careful because you got to be careful with, we have several guests still here.
But if I could keep my line of questioning, I'm just curious.
Please go right ahead.
To give us a sense of the oversight that is going to be given towards this miscellaneous money and or the money I'm not really clear on the kind of oversight that will be, how do people apply for that money and how will they be vetted? Since it's a different process than the one you described before.
Let's say whatever need comes up and it's obvious it needs to be handled more quickly than the several month process. It would, as of now, it would, until we have some other committees in place right now, what would probably do is go to the long-term recovery committee for their comment, and then it would have to go to the COW and council for their approval. No money can be spent out of it though without council approval.
I thought there was going to be, the R.T.M was going to be involved in that authorization. Is this not?
That's for all the regular, everything else. That's why you're approving these dollars now, is so you don't have to go through a longer process.
Okay.
So that there's some flexibility.
Thank you. Representative Jean Shimbrough, we might as well ask questions while we're here.
Still count 22, Representative.
I think you're wrong because
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have a quick question. It's a very unusual number, 107.
500,000 total.
Oh, okay. So that's the leftover. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if anything doesn't get spent, it goes back into the pot.
Okay. Oh, that was my only question.
Oh, and I should probably mention just on the process, we've only received 50% of our funding so far. The other 50% will be next summer. So there's also a possibility that we might have 2 application rounds. There could even be more. So, don't get locked into only one round of applications. It might be more depending on how everything flows.
Representative Rusk.
I just want to make a general statement. First of all, I'm sorry I got frustrated earlier. I don't normally do that. But I am really frustrated that we spend a lot of time at the beginning of the meeting discussing a lot of things, and then we don't get to vote until it's, 2.5 hours into the meeting. And I think that's something that we need to really look at, because we don't have a quorum right now to do business. And I don't have an answer, and I don't like coming to you without a solution. But when we let people talk longer than 4 minutes, maybe that's part of the problem. And I love citizens' participation, so please don't get me wrong on that. But there has to be some way to make it that we can get to a vote before we are 3 hours into a meeting or 2.5 hours into a meeting, because it is 11:18 at night and we didn't get to our last vote because we didn't get to it before people finally said enough's enough. So I'm really asking that we, as a body, consider how we can do this better. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Rusk. I just want to note that the 10 minutes is actually what's in our rules, and it's up to the discretion of me, and that's the maximum. And I apologize for that, but that is my discretion. And I didn't know we would have quite as many speakers, but I had offered when people want to make a more thorough presentation, I do like to extend that 10 minutes to them. And we haven't had any citizen. What?
May I ask then that it be removed from our agenda, that it says citizens get 4 minutes or less, because that's what our agenda says.
Well, the rules say it's 10 minutes, and that was changed at some point in the past, not by myself, but I usually do set it less if we have lots of speakers, but we haven't had a lot of speakers. But during the time when we were doing the plastic ordinance, we did have a lot of speakers.
Moderator, do you want to try to put this to a vote and see if we have 21? Because I keep coming with 20.
Okay. Well, let's just cruise through this. Representative Kuchowski.
I would just like a clarification from the town manager. So the charter says anything over $10,000 has to go to the RTM. So in this $107,000, if something costs $11,000, it's not going to the RTM.
It's going to the RTM tonight. That covers that requirement.
Yeah.
No, it does. But then that's why.
How does that cover that requirement?
When you accept like if the RTM accepts a grant, if we send a grant up, that adopts everything under that grant. It's the same thing.
Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Sorry, I raised my hand to speak when I thought we didn't have quorum, but I just wanted to identify that this was not a problem ever, as far as I can recall, until we started having Zoom meetings. And I think it's just the little things that kind of eat up time when we're in a virtual setting. So yeah, these late nights have been killer. I have to agree with Representative Rusk. And I know with COVID raging, we're not probably any closer to being back in person, but I agree. We probably should find some way of trying to get these votes earlier. Thank you. That's all.
Rearrange your agenda, send it to rules. Sorry.
Representative Bailey?
Thank you very much. Is it possible, because the only thing we got to nuke out is just this, that within like a reasonable period of like notification, that we can meet like a week from now and just nuke this one out?
Honestly, I think it can wait to the next meeting because let's say we received a new request, it would still have to go through the council process anyhow. So I don't see a big, this is the one piece that has a little more flexibility, as long as it's with, at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did you want to, Madam Clerk, have a roll call vote? I mean, you could try it if you want, or we could skip.
I think we have 20 people here, so.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
Susan Dean Shinbrat just left.
Nope, now we have 19. Mhm.
Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, I think, and we will address this.
You can't even get one because you don't have them.
We'll fizzle out into the night and wish you a good night.
I'll just say we lost quorum
Well-
at 11:15.
I swear, all the sweating, all the questions tonight, I've lost 5 pounds.
Have a night.
Well, make sure you put that on your walker, challenge.
Well, John, isn't that the role of the RTM, is to get all these questions out? From what I've always been told about the RTM, we're the most important body. So we really should scrutinize everything.
Oh, I wasn't
I
complaining.
don't
I was just
No,
joking.
no.
No, not you. I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're right. But I think that what Jill was saying, you could rearrange your agenda to have liaison reports and things after new business. Move your new business up.
Yeah,
We never had liaison reports on other RTMs, so.
I look at it this way. We only meet once a month, if that, and it's if it lasts till 11:30, it lasts till 11:30. That's the way I look at it. I have to get up in the morning to go to work as well, but
Well, I mean, I think that's a good idea. And I've always had liaison reports when I was on the RTM, so I don't think that's a new thing. I think maybe they're longer or there's more of them,
The last meeting was canceled too, so I assumed that this one would be longer anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the other suggestion is with the liaison reports, they do get emailed to us. Why do they have to be read again?
There you go.
Just make a motion to accept them, or whatever needs to be done.
I would caution, now that we're no longer at quorum, you don't want to break FOIA.
All right. We're not deciding anything. We're just talking.
Well, you can't discuss something. Well, I guess you don't have a quorum, so I guess
We don't have a quorum.
But even Tom Hennig said you should watch even with a small group. I would just be careful going too far.
Good night.
All right, kiddos. Good night.